Alright, before I start, this is what the setup looks like. It's packed, by the way, here at UCLA right now. Packed. Packed, I'm telling you. If I don't get a conversation today, I'll be completely surprised. It's packed. Packed. And just so you guys can get an idea. This is what the table looks like. Again, it is super packed. I don't even know if I could get... So there's the table right there. Oh. Again, we'll see if we get any interactions today. I'll be surprised if I don't. But yeah, I mean, maybe I should slide it over a little bit to the side, but it should be okay, I think. So as you guys can see, it's pretty packed, which is good, obviously. Yeah, I think I'm good right here. I don't think I need to move. I know there's construction literally in this building right here since last time. I see how long it takes them to finish that project, right? Hey.
My name's Chad. I'm with Student Affairs.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
If you want to do this, you just have to do it up over there because you can't have like tables and things.
Oh, right here? I can't do this right here?
without permission.
It has to be up there?
Yeah, there's some brown tables just in that space.
In the...
Yeah, just
up the hill? In the hill right there?
Yeah, right where all that mass of people is.
Okay.
Okay?
So I'll be able to put this in, or there's other tables is what you're saying?
Over in that area.
So I could set up the tables, what you're saying?
If they're all full, normally we don't allow tables, but you just gotta find a space where you're not blocking things. Because, like, see where the fire hydrant is?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
We don't want to fire, like, there's fire lane stuff.
All right, no worries.
Cool?
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you
I'll
so
probably
much.
post up probably by the entrance then, or if
Yeah,
I don't
up
find
there
anything there.
You'll get more people up there anyway.
Yeah, no, yeah, there is a lot of people up there.
That's the congestion.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. Damn. That sucks. There is a fire hydrant here, to be fair, right there. Damn it. So I'm going to have to put a pause to this, pack everything up again, and then post up again. So just bear with me. I'll try to do this quick. Bear with me. How did I know? There's a like a nasty ass slope though up there. Hopefully like it doesn't get in the way or anything, but we'll see. I might just move to an area where there's no fire hydrant, you know. So I'll be quick. Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave this going real quick. All right, let's look for a spot real quick. Yeah, I guess it was too... I mean, I could probably... Like they were saying right there on that hill, but then the table's gonna be all uneven. And I could also post up on that side. I don't want to be blocking though over there. And there's not a lot of students, so it's gonna have to be here, but maybe next to those trash cans. I need to look for some shade, that's why. I don't want to blend in with the rest of the tables though, because then people are just gonna like look past all the tables. And obviously my table is not like any other table, obviously. So hopefully it's not an issue. Damn it. I honestly don't want to go up this hill. They said they had tables here. Oh, there is tables. Ah, I see. Ah, I see. So they have tables that are level already. I won't be able to hang up my sign because my sign is, with the hooks that I have, is measured out to my table. So let me see if I could even set up a table up here. I mean, there is tables up here. Again, I don't want to have to blend in with these. Thank you. Thank you. As you guys can see down there in that circle would have been the spot to be. But fudge. It has to be like a level surface at least. I don't want to be sitting in a slant, obviously. Yeah, it's a little bit more dead over here. To be fair, I wouldn't want to put the table in that walkway there. I think I'm just gonna go to the entrance. Fuck it. Or by the entrance. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna have to be. Oh my god, 9 minutes. Yeah, I definitely do not want to blend in with the rest of the tables. Volunteer travel aboard. Look, I think the most ideal place will probably be there. But then, could say I'm blocking there. Yeah, another good spot would be right here, but then there's a table right there next to me. Ah, sucks. Freaking sucks. Yeah, I may just have to post up over here by the entrance then, which means I'm gonna have to miss all these students. But I mean, I was gonna post up next to that emergency pole there, but then Again, they might make it a big deal. Like, I don't even know what that's for. Damn it. Yeah, where I was a pretty good spot, to be fair. But there is a fire hydrant there. I guess that was the excuse. Damn it. Alright, I'm gonna start walking out and see if there's a spot on the way out. Fuck, it's frustrating. Kinda sucks. I wonder if I could post under that tree there, right? They'll probably make it a big deal too. Yeah, I'll just go right here towards the front. It's no big deal. I mean, I would like to post up right here, right outside the UCLA store, and I just go over here. There's more foot traffic. Yep, I'm gonna have to post up out here, which is not bad. Whew, my God, I'm seeing. That kind of sucks. What a bummer. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna have to be here. Fuck, I don't know why I'm overthinking it. I mean, there is another area down there. Nah, I don't think so. Alright, fuck it. I'm just gonna set up right here. It is what it is.
Never in my life have I ever seen someone put their tequila
Yeah, it's definitely way more dead out here. Next time for sure, I'm gonna look for a spot inside, like a better spot that's not next to a fire hydrant, right? I didn't want to waste too much time looking around, you know, so fuck it. Just come out here and see what happens. It's funny how last time they didn't tell me nothing, you know. I guess it was summer, so maybe they didn't really have staff as much, like, you know, a lot of staff kind of like regulating. So I guess now that fall's back in session, maybe that's why. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I was only inside once. The second time I came here, I was outside, like how I am right now, or right by the entrance, in other words. Oh man, damn it, that fucking sucked. There was a lot of students inside. Fuck. It is what it is. Trial and error. Next time for sure, I have to look for a better spot. And then the good thing is that summer's over, so it's not gonna be as hot anymore. So I can probably pick a spot that's not shaded. You know, because there was a lot of spots that were open that were not shaded, but because I don't have a canopy, you know. I don't want to do that right now, even though it's not that hot today. But again, maybe next time. Next time I'll come more prepared. I'll for sure look for a good spot before starting the live. That way I'm not like carrying my phone and pushing the dolly and trying to find a spot at the same time. It's like not cool. So yeah, next time for sure I'll come in, find a good spot where I'm not next to a fire hydrant, and hopefully I don't get harassed. I mean, I'm surprised that I did, because I mean, it is a public school, you know, so the public, you know, has access, in other words, right? So I get it, though it was in front of a fire hydrant there, so I get it. So hopefully next time when I'm set up in there and I'm not next to a fire hydrant, hopefully I don't get kicked out, right? I mean, there's other tables right there, but I guess they got permission, right? Or, you know, I'm sure that any student can set up a table, right? As long as they're not walking the walkways, and I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it's fine. Again, if they're not blocking any like fire extinguishers or whatever, fire hydrants, then I don't see an issue with it. But yeah, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, let me just say hi to the chat. What's up, Nat, Rom, Bobby, Beyond Belief, Simon, Angela, Andrew, Cheswick, Sean, Earthship Bear, Angelito, Terry, Renewed Awareness. What's up, everyone, and everyone else watching? Hope everyone's doing well today. Yeah, so as you guys just seen, or if you haven't, or if you missed it, I kind of got kicked out from inside of UCLA, but not because they didn't allow a table in there. It was because I was next to a fire hydrant. They do have some like tables set up in the hill right here inside the school, but yeah, I wouldn't have been able to set up my banner on those tables, so it was a little inconvenient. And plus, there was a lot of other tables there, and students were just walking by. It's like they already know what those tables are about, so they don't even look. So if I posted a table there next to all the other tables that are part of the school, I'm sure that a lot of students would just walk back or walk past it, you know, without even looking, you know. So I didn't want to blend in with the rest of the tables there. So, and another thing is it was on a slope too. So setting up my table on the slope, I don't think it was not going to work. It was not going to work. So that's that. Damn, man, I'm hoping I get a conversation out here, man. That sucks. Damn, I was already all pumped up. I was already like, you know, like literally a bunch of students passing by inside, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get a conversation for sure, like quick. And that stupid staff fucking killed it. Damn it. And that is a pretty good spot right there where I was. It's like it's like the center where like all students kind of like cross paths, you know. It's like, and then it's right next to the Bruin statue right there too. But it is what it is. Oh man. Damn, man, with like work and life in general, you know, and just like the stress of just bills, you know, month after month after month, it just feels like you just don't get enough rest. At least that's just my experience. It's like it feels like I'm always just chasing rest. Like it's crazy. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, obviously, you know, especially people that work full-time jobs, you know, which is a majority, you know, a majority of people. So it's crazy how like we kind of normalize that, more normalize that kind of life, you know, where it's you know, it's being normalized more and more and more and more, you know. So I just think it's a little bit sad, you know, obviously, that people just accept a way of life, you know, that's presented to them, you know, and yeah, they just accept it and try to normalize it to not, so it doesn't look so bad, so it doesn't feel so bad, right? You just tell themselves that it's just normal, everyone else does it, right? So I have to be a good citizen, and I have to be a hard worker, right? And I have to pay my taxes, and I have to be, you know. So again, all of that is just a distraction, you know. It's just an occupation, again, just to keep you occupied. I mean, it's in the name. So yeah, it sucks, you know. It's crazy. Oh yeah, not nearly as many students as inside, man. Fucking sucks. Oh yeah, Andrew. Skilly's conversation that he had. I was actually starting to listen to it this morning. So I did listen to like a good like 10 minutes of it, and yeah, it was interesting. Obviously, I'm definitely gonna finish watching that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. So yeah, shout out to Skilly for actually having the conversation, you know, and recording it, you know, because I'm sure a lot of people have the conversation offline, you know, and they don't record it and stuff, which is cool, you know, obviously. But kudos if you record it and post it, you know, for sharing, you know, thanks for sharing it. Definitely, it's a lot of people that would love to see more of these conversations play out, you know, in different parts of the world, you know. So yeah, anyone that has a conversation, if you record it and upload it, you know, I think that's a big, it could be a big help towards other people as well, to see that the conversation's progressing and different people are involved. I think when more people get involved, I think that's obviously a good thing. Obviously, we could kind of turn that, like, you know, the influence back around, right? So instead of being influenced by bullshit, we could be influenced by truth. You know, if you get people grounded with basic physics, and then people will just naturally get influenced into like accepting reality over concepts, right? That just comes naturally. In other words, when you follow natural science, that just happens naturally, you know, especially when we're trying to discern reality, you know, what's real and what's not. So yeah. So I guess I'll address, I did listen to Natch's last live stream. I guess I'll just address a few points, because he did take what I said personally. Obviously, he did get a little in his feelsies, right? And he basically kind of went off, you know, which is cool, I guess. People have the right to express themselves however they want. But when I was talking about the people causing division and stuff like that, I mean, I'm not saying that that's what's happening deliberately, obviously, because you can ignorantly be pushing a model, for example, and creating division without intentionally trying to create division. So I by no means am I saying people are creating division intentionally, right? That's not up for me to decide. I'm not anyone else but myself. I can only represent myself and my intent, my own intent. I only know my own intent, for example. So when I say that pushing a model creates division, it's like no different than the stationary flat Earth, for example. You know, when you start pushing a model or a map, in other words, now again, you're creating division, because where we should be standing is with things that we can prove for sure, right? The facts, the physics that proves the level Earth, for example. So that's what we should all be. That's what brings us all together, right? That's the common ground, right? Is that we all agree that the Earth is level, right? That's what brings us together, right? Now, when people start to push a model apart from that, then I think that's where the division starts. Now you're dividing yourself from people that are just remaining objective and what we can 100% prove to ourselves, to making assumptions, you know, about what could be, right? Which again, people have the right to do that. Again, people could do and believe whatever they want, right? But when we're talking about objective physics, you know, objective reality, in other words, I think remaining objective is key, right? Again, when you start pushing models, again, that require assumptions, you know, especially if the model doesn't change anything about the physics of the Earth. For example, you know, having a map of the Earth, the layout of the Earth, right? Whether it's this layout or a different layout, like, it doesn't change the fact that the Earth is level, right? The physics of water, the fact that the force of the Earth is up, all of that proves that the Earth is level, right? You know, those are the two main proofs, right? So we don't need to get into models or maps about the Earth. You know, if anything, you're now muddying the waters. Now you're filling it with a bunch of useless information now. That when new people come across the flat Earth, right? They want the short, cohesive answer, right? The physics behind it, why people believe it, right? So when you start talking about models, you guys want to give it a shot? Nah, they were just looking. So when you start pushing a model, right? Not only are you muddying the waters, because now you're filling the subject with a bunch of useless information, which again doesn't change the fact that the Earth is level or not. But you're creating division within the flat earthers now. because the people that are remaining objective are like, wait a minute, I don't represent any model. So now they're trying to lump everybody into these models. So that's what's happening, because these models can be easily debunked, or there's flaws with these models. Now they want to group people into these models and make that the focus and try to discredit the person, you know, opposed to the claim, right? Now, when it comes to the motion of the Earth, I think is the exact same thing, because just like the speed of the Earth, because what's in contention, what's up for debate, right? Or it's when you release an object into free fall. What's up for debate, or you know, it's does the object move down towards the ground, or does the ground move up to the object? That's what's important, right? And obviously physics shows that it's the ground that moves up to the object, right? So it's not the object that moves down to the Earth, it's the Earth that moves up to the object. That's what's important, that's what's key, that's where the focus should be. Now, just like the speed of the Earth is irrelevant, it doesn't change the fact that when you release an object into free fall, it's the ground that moves up to the object, right? Not the object that moves down to the ground. So just because we don't know the speed of the Earth moving up to the object, that doesn't change that fact, that the Earth is still moving up towards the object, right? So the speed becomes irrelevant, just like the trajectory of the Earth becomes irrelevant, because again, whether the Earth is moving in a perfectly straight line or it's not, that doesn't change the fact that when you release an object into free fall, it's the Earth that moves up to the object and not the object down to the Earth. So again, whether the Earth is moving in a perfectly straight line or not, doesn't change that fact. The main fact, the factor that should bring everyone together to say like, yes, this is what debunks the globe. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, a globe Earth concept cannot exist.
Let's do it.
You guys want to do it?
Yeah, I'll do
He'll
it.
do it.
All right, perfect. Let me bring out the slides. So it's two very easy questions. They're multiple choice too.
Okay.
All right, you guys can do it together too, so it make it easier. All right, first one. So I have 3 box trucks here, and they're all completely sealed, and they are all on a level surface. They all also have an apple hanging from a string. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
This one's at rest.
Yes.
This one's going backwards.
Okay.
This one's going forward.
Okay, how did you figure that out?
Because obviously this object's in rest. It's not moving at all.
Okay, so the object inside is not moving?
Yeah.
Sure.
This one, I'm just assuming that if you're going forward, there's going to be like an opposite force that pushes that apple backwards.
It's actually not a force, it's a fictitious force, but
Okay.
it's due to inertia.
Inertia, okay,
Yes.
right, yeah.
Yes, a fictitious
And then
force.
this one just opposite of that. If that one's moving forward, this one's going backwards.
Yes,
Is that
exactly.
correct?
Yeah, you got it.
Alright,
So
perfect.
again, yeah, because of inertia.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So the second one,
Are you sure a 5th grader would know that?
if I explained it to them and then I showed them the question again,
Okay.
they'll get it. It's pretty common sense.
Okay.
In other words. So the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple hanging from a string, it's a helium balloon inside of the truck. So same thing, but out of these 3, which one is at rest?
No, I feel like it's a trick.
So it's just a helium balloon.
It's just a helium balloon. Nothing. Everything else is the same.
Okay.
Hard, completely sealed on a level surface. One is at rest. One is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse.
So I have to find which one's at rest.
So which one's at rest first?
Okay.
A, B, or C?
I kind of want to.
I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is B, right?
Yeah, it actually is B.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and it's for the exact same reason as the
Exactly.
first. It's because there's no change in the vector. The vector is
Right.
vertical
Yeah.
still. There's no movement, right? So which
Yeah.
one's accelerating forward?
I kind of want to say C.
Okay, why do you want to say C?
Because I feel like it's opposite of what the last one was.
Yeah.
And because helium
It's
probably
less
makes
dense.
it go the other way.
Yeah, it actually is. It's the opposite effect of the other one, and then there's 2 reasons why. So the first reason is helium is less dense than air, and the second reason is a force.
Okay.
So when I applied a force in this direction, the air inside of the truck is also being forced in that direction through space. In other words, it's being pushed in that direction through space, and because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in that same direction
Okay.
of the applied force.
Okay.
So you guys heard of buoyancy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So buoyancy is an effect of a force. It follows the direction of the force.
Okay.
In other words. So,
Okay.
and I can demonstrate that here. Look, I have a buoyant object here inside a container filled with
Oh, wow.
water. Yeah. So obviously this is a buoyant object. If I apply a force in this direction, what direction do you think the buoyant object is going to go?
So if you apply the force in what direction?
This direction.
This direction?
It'll go that way.
No, the
No,
We'll
wait,
go the same
buoyant?
way.
yes, the buoyant object
Oh, it's
follows
like
that
the
direction.
helium.
Yes,
Oh,
it's
oh,
like the
okay,
helium.
okay.
That's a buoyant effect. It goes to the front opposed to the
Oh.
back.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
because
cool.
an apple will get left behind because the air's not dense enough to push it.
Yeah.
So the apple would just remain in its position and get left behind.
Wait, that's really
A less dense object obviously will get pushed by the medium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So look, I can show that here. I recreated this experiment in a cargo van. So I want to see if you guys can tell what direction I accelerated the van, to the right or to the left. There's a helium balloon and an apple inside of a container.
So you're going that way.
Yes, yes. So again,
Okay.
matter doesn't lie. You
That
know
makes
that.
sense.
Yes, the
Whoa,
helium
that's
balloon.
really cool.
Yeah, it always reacts in the direction of the force.
Okay.
So let me ask you this: if I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
It goes up.
Yeah, because helium is buoyant, right?
Yeah.
Again, there's two reasons why that happens. Why do you think that happens? Why does the helium go up?
Because it's less.
Dense in
Dense
there.
in the air.
Yeah, so that's the first reason. What's the second reason? What dictates the motion and the direction of the balloon?
The wind? Or the...
Yeah, well, it's a force. So again, in this scenario, it was the force of the truck pushing the air in this direction, which then pushed the helium in the same direction. What's generating the force here on Earth to push the air up to be able to push up the helium?
The moon? I don't know.
So the answer is gravity, but
Okay.
the gravity of the Earth is actually a pushing force, not a
Oh.
pulling force. So the Earth right now is pushing up against you and not pulling you down, and that pressure is what's creating the air pressure up, and that's what pushes
Because there's
helium
like a
up.
force normal and a
Yes,
force gravity.
yes. So the normal force is the real force
Okay,
of the
okay.
Earth. So the Earth is literally pushing up on you right now, which is pushing up the air through space, which is then able to push up
Okay,
helium.
okay,
So
that
that's the
makes
real
sense.
force. Gravity as a pulling force, however, is just a theory. So I don't know if you guys knew gravity as a pulling force has never been detected or measured, and that's why it's just a theory.
Okay.
So when you release an object into free fall, it's not the object doesn't go towards the ground; it's the ground that comes up to the object
Okay.
because the Earth is constantly moving up through space right now.
Okay.
So the real reason why I'm doing this is because you guys believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing here, up will be this way for you, but if
Yeah.
you're standing down here, up will be like in the opposite
Yeah.
direction. So if we could prove physically that the Earth is pushing up and not pulling us down, and buoyancy shows us that, right? The Earth is literally moving up through space. How can the Earth move up in every direction at the same time on a ball if it was a ball? So if the ground was moving up, right?
Yeah.
Earth was moving. How can the Earth move up like this, like this, like this, like this at the same time, up in every direction?
There's like a force also pushing it back into the center.
So you're thinking gravity is pulling everything down,
Yeah.
and that combats the upwards push.
Yeah.
So in other words, the Earth in the globe Earth model, then the ground is not moving up then relative to us.
Well, the gravity is like warped. Like the space is warped around.
Yeah, that's Einstein's theory
Yeah.
of a pulling force. He
Yeah.
claims it's not a force though; it's a bending and warping of
Yeah,
space.
it's-
But it's just a theory that has never been physically proven in reality.
Okay.
So it's just his imagination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, the reality is that the Earth is literally moving up through space, and it wouldn't work from a globe because in order for the Earth to move up, if it was a ball, it would have to be expanding.
Okay.
So we have to be pushing up in every direction at the same time, which means it would just expand and explode. So it wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's the other way around, that it's actually a pushing force of the Earth, then the whole globe Earth model falls apart.
Oh, interesting.
So the reality is the Earth is just a level extended plane, and it's just moving up in one direction. And that's everybody's up is the same, in other words. So yeah, so the Earth is moving up just in one direction, which is up.
How would that make the pictures that they've gotten make
Yes,
sense?
yes. So I don't know if you knew, NASA and every other space agency, they admit all the pictures they show us from outer space of
Yeah.
the Earth, they're all CGI. So they're all composites.
Really?
So a real photograph of the Earth from outer space as a ball doesn't exist.
Oh, interesting.
So they call them images, not photographs.
Oh, okay.
How would
because-
that explain the moon being like everything else being circular?
Yeah, so the sun, the moon, and the stars, they're
Yeah.
just lights in the sky
Yeah.
that, in my opinion, are just part of the Earth's system. They're not outside of in outer space, and you know what I'm saying? That's what they tell us. So nobody knows exactly what the lights in the sky are, but to try and look at the stars to prove the ground we're walking on, like the geometry, that's a red herring because the stars have nothing to do with the physical dimensions of the Earth,
Okay.
in other words.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball? What convinces you?
Well, I took an astronomy class last
Okay.
semester.
What
And,
about what convinced you, I guess, from that
Well,
class?
I remember there was like two theories like that
Yes.
people were initially thinking of, and then my professor basically just like made it. Oh, I forgot exactly what he said.
Yeah. Do you remember the theories? You're talking about like the theory of the Big Bang, maybe? I mean,
Well,
that's
yeah,
one
the
theory.
Big Bang, where it's like
Yeah.
everything is. It's like we're raisins and like bread, and then
Yeah.
the bread expands.
Yeah. So basically, the Big Bang Theory is a creation story, right?
Yeah.
You guys obviously you guys are familiar that every religion has their own creation story. So
Yeah.
right, the Quran, the Christian. So the globe Earth, the heliocentric model, is no different than any other religion in the sense that they give you a creation story as well. The
Yeah.
fact is, nobody knows how this place was created,
Yeah.
but it was created somehow. This is of creation. So the Big Bang, evolution, all of that are just theories to make people believe in the ball Earth.
Yeah.
Because that buys into the concept of outer space and other planets, and all that's just made
Yeah.
up. So the Earth, nobody has left the Earth system. So everything that shows about outer space is just cartoons for adults.
Really?
Yes. So NASA is just Disney for adults.
Oh, okay.
And they admit everything they show us is CGI, but they say that they do them in Photoshop just to make them look better. That's
So
what
no
they
one
say.
landed on the moon?
No, no. So the moon is just a light. So could you stand on a rainbow? You think?
No,
Why couldn't you stand on a rainbow?
it's not dense enough.
Well, it's just light.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, but it's not dense at all.
Yeah.
I would say because light is not. You can't stand on
Yeah.
light. So the luminaries in the sky are just light. So them claiming that we can go to these places
Yeah.
and stand on them, and that's just fairy tales. It's kind of funny in a way, but yeah,
Yeah.
It's all made up. So again, the reality is the Earth is an extended plane, and nobody knows how far it extends. So in my opinion, there is an end to the Earth. So it is being contained somehow because we have air pressure here on Earth. In order to maintain air pressure, not only do you require a force, but you require containment. So the Earth system is being contained completely. So we're
How would-
inside.
I have a question. How
Yes.
would that explain like how airplanes, like how they'll go like up so that when the Earth is spinning, that they can just go straight down?
So I don't know.
How-
So I don't know if you guys knew. First, airplanes don't account of the Earth's spin, and they
Okay.
also don't account of the Earth's curvature.
Oh.
So they don't account for those two things.
Oh, okay.
So airplanes fly level
Yeah.
over a level surface.
Oh, wow.
So level meaning horizontal. That's what level means. No deviation in elevation.
Yeah.
You're just flying straight.
Straight.
Yes. So when airplanes are at cruising altitude, they fly straight. They don't account for Earth's curvature to go down a curve when they're going from north to the south.
Yeah.
They just go straight. Because in reality, this is what the Earth would look like if the layout of the Earth was correct, which in my opinion it's not. Here it is. So again, they show us a globe, right? And then obviously a globe has curvature, right? Like that. But in reality, if this was the true layout of the Earth, then this is what it would look like level. But in my opinion, the layout of the Earth is completely unknown. In other words, the true size and dimensions of continents are not what we're being told as
Yeah.
well. This is just a projection as well.
Yeah.
But this is what it will look like. So airplanes just fly level over a level surface, around the
See.
Earth like this and like this. Nobody's ever gone south, like on a globe, and then come back around north.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done that because in reality, if you just go south, you're gonna reach the end of the Earth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. Oh wait, I thought it was like a galaxy.
Well, not flat Earth, but level Earth. It's a huge difference.
Oh,
Level
gotcha,
Earth,
gotcha.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So here's my information.
Okay.
Here, I'll give you my channel, and I go to USC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I go to UCR as well, and I have conversations with even physics professors as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they can't
Thank
can't
you.
prove the globe either, but
Really?
yeah, you
So
can
this
check-
goes on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah, you can
smart.
check it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate the
Thank you
chat.
so much.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah,
take care.
take
All right, you too. This about flat Earth? Nah. This is not flat Earth. Oh, I was talking about the little notch drama, right? So again, when it comes to the trajectory of the Earth, because that's what it comes down to, let's be honest. This whole acceleration versus constant speed, right? It basically comes down to, is the Earth moving in a perfectly straight line or not? That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, because you could have a constant force with a constant speed if it's not moving in a straight line. So you can have a force in both of those scenarios to recreate the effects we see here on Earth, right? So that's what it comes down to. The fact is, nobody knows the exact trajectory of the Earth. That's the facts. That's the reality. I was wrong for ever claiming a model. I was wrong for ever picking a side. I fell into this so stupid ass debate when I shouldn't have. I admit that I shouldn't have made any claims about the speed or trajectory of the Earth, because at the end of the day, nobody knows. So from now on, anybody that misrepresents my position, they can go fuck themselves. Again, this is not a personal attack on anyone. This is just a general statement. Anybody that misrepresents my position when it comes to the motion of the earth can go fuck themselves, because again, at the end of the day, I'm not claiming a model. I'm not going to claim a model. All I'm going to acknowledge is what I can prove 100% to myself, and that's that the earth is moving up relative to me, relative to an object in free fall. The object in free fall doesn't move down to the ground. It's the ground that moves up to the object. That's my position. What's the speed of the earth? Is it moving at a constant or accelerating? Is it straight or not straight? Like all of that, I don't care. I don't care what the exact motion of the earth is at the end of the day. Not only because it's irrelevant, it doesn't change the fact that it's the ground that moves up to an object in free fall, which is the main point that debunks the globe. But it's also irrelevant because nobody can actually prove what's going on. You would have to be outside the Earth's reference frame to be able to know the exact speed and trajectory of the Earth. So focusing on that, in my opinion, is not only are you muddying the waters with a bunch of useless information, in my opinion, again, but you're also kind of creating division, because now you're pushing a model and separating from the people that are just remaining objective, you know? So that's what it comes down to. So again, I have no hard feelings towards Natch, you know, literally no hard feelings, and it's fine, you know, it's okay to get emotional, and it's fine, you know, it's fine, you know, I'm not taking none of that personal, you know. It's, again, I'm not doing this to try and make friends online. I'm not doing this to start a community type of thing. I'm just doing this to empower people, to try to empower the individual. That's why I'm doing this, is to reach new people and to try and empower them mentally. That's what it's about. Everything else, all this community, you know, having friends, I'm not interested in that. Sorry, but not sorry, you know. Again, I have no ill will towards anyone. I don't hate anyone. I don't want to spread hate towards anyone. If anything, I'm just gonna call out the behavior and the tactics that people use, you know. Nothing personal. Again, nothing personal towards anyone, nothing personal towards Natch, nothing personal towards Jason. You know, again, if you guys want to believe in a certain model of the motion of the earth, that's fine. But don't try and drag me back into this subject, because I honestly don't care. I don't have a position, and it's irrelevant to me. You know, well, is Earth accelerating or not? I don't know. That's my honest answer. My honest answer is I don't know. And I honestly don't care. You know, in this point in time, you know, I honestly don't care. What I care about is exposing the globe Earth. What I care about is exposing that objects don't accelerate in free fall, and it's the Earth that moves up to the objects. That's what I'm interested in. Again, all this other drama of pointless information that cannot be 100% proven, that only muddies the waters, I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna step away from it. I honestly don't want any of that. I don't want any drama when it comes to bullshit, you know? And that is bullshit, because again, at the end of the day, that doesn't change the facts whether the Earth moves up to the object or the object moves down towards the Earth in free fall. It doesn't change that. So it becomes irrelevant, in my opinion, especially if it cannot be proven 100% of the time, you know? So that's my position. Those are my thoughts on that. That's my response, right? You know, but again, at the end of the day, I don't care. People could believe whatever they want. People could push a model if they want, and that's their will. You know, I'm not here to try to control people and try to make people believe certain things or whatever. Nope. People believe whatever they want. I'm going to stick to what I know, and I'm not going to be claiming any models whatsoever. Again, and if I ever did, you know, I was wrong for doing that. I shouldn't have, you know, entertained the conversation. I shouldn't have got into this debate, right? It was just a waste of time, and it just created division. Look what happened. It just literally created division, right? So I'm not going to be part of that anymore. So I don't have a model. I don't have a position when it comes to the exact motion of the Earth, and it doesn't change the facts. So that's my position, and yeah, people could call me a coward for that, you know, because if they want, right? Because I'm taking back what I said. Like, isn't that what this is about? Isn't that what growing is about? It's to admit your flaws and move forward, right? That's exactly what I'm doing, you know. I shouldn't have made any claims about what the motion is. I shouldn't have done that, and I'm moving forward now. So yeah, that's what this is about. It's about learning from your mistakes and moving forward. So my mistake was even entertaining the conversation and even picking a side or making any claims about it. I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that, and that still doesn't change the facts, regardless. So, hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
I wanted to
You want to give this a shot?
potentially.
You guys want to do it together? I could do it together. Yeah. 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 Perfect.
I
So
don't want to embarrass myself.
you won't. Trust me. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Two. Yeah, it is physics. It's basic physics too to top it off. So I have 3 box trucks here, and they're
Yeah.
completely sealed, and they're all on a level surface. They all have an apple hanging from a string as well.
Okay.
The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Yes.
B.
Okay, yeah. How do you guys know it's B? It's not changing this position. It's not changing its position. Exactly. It's remaining vertical. So that's pretty easy, right? So which one's accelerating forward?
I would say. I would say A.
It is A. Yeah, it is A. And how do you know it's A?
Well, when the truck moves forward, an object at rest stays at rest.
Yes.
So if the truck moves forward, this kind of like moves back, but it's more or less staying in the same position.
Yes,
but
it's
like-
staying in the same position and the whole truck's moving
Yeah.
forward. So it's being left behind.
Yeah.
In other words. So it appears to move back because it's being left behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. And it's due to inertia.
Yeah.
That's the reason why matter resists the motion. Yeah, perfect. You got it. So, second one, very similar, but instead of an apple, is a helium balloon inside. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Still B, right?
Okay. Yeah, it's actually B, and it's for the exact same reason as the first. It's because there's no change in the vertical vector. So which one's accelerating forward in this one?
There's more like, is there more things to consider now? Because at first it was just like movement, but now it's like
It's still movement,
pressure.
but now there's a density difference
Uh-huh.
from the balloon and the
Density
apple.
difference, and I feel like also the fact that it's hanging, that it's like tied to the bottom of the truck as opposed to the top of the truck.
Well, that's because of the density difference of the apple and the helium.
Yeah.
So they have to be tied in opposite
So is it
positions. But
is it A?
Or what's accelerating?
yeah, which one's accelerating forward? So if you're saying A, which one would you say?
I like C. I don't know.
I'd probably still say
If you say A and you say C, why would you say C?
I don't know. Like, I think I don't have any like scientific principle
Explanation,
behind it. Like,
okay,
but
okay.
that's what I would imagine that the balloon doing if we're like zooming forward.
Okay, you're actually correct though. It is C, and I'll explain why. There's 2 reasons why it's C. So the first reason, obviously, the helium is less dense than the air, right? That's the first reason. The second reason is a force. So when I apply a force in this direction, in other words, the truck accelerates in this direction,
Yeah.
all of the air that's inside of the truck is also being pushed in that same direction through space. And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in that same direction of the applied pressure or the applied force. So
That makes sense.
yeah, so because it's buoyant, buoyancy always follows the direction of the applied force or applied pressure. So, and I can demonstrate that here. So this is a buoyant object inside of water, right?
Yeah.
So it's less dense than the water that surrounds it. If I accelerate in this direction, what direction will the buoyant object go?
Opposite?
No, it goes in the same direction as the force.
I'm like, this is my
So it gets pushed forward because it's less dense. Yeah, so if I go this way, it gets pushed this way. You know, so buoyancy follows the same direction as the force, in other words. Yeah. Yeah. So here, I recreated this experiment inside of a cargo van, and I want to see if you guys can get it right. So again, can you guys see the helium balloon and apple?
Not really.
See?
I know, kind of ran out of shade here.
Yeah. Oh, maybe if we use that.
Let me see, can you guys see it there? There we go. Can you guys see the apple and helium balloon?
Yes.
Can you guys tell what direction I accelerated this container? To the right or to the left?
To the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, because the helium balloon got pushed in that direction, which tells you that air is also moving in that direction, right? So let me ask you one last question. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go? Yes, there's 2 reasons why the helium balloon goes up. Again, why is that?
The air is gonna push it.
Okay, yes, so the first is helium is less dense than air.
Yeah.
And the second reason is air is pushing it up. But again, we require a force for that. So in this scenario, the truck generated the force to push the air to then push the helium. What's generating the force here on Earth to push the air up to be able to push the helium? It is gravity. But it's not a pulling force of gravity, it's a pushing force of gravity. So the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. So the ground right now is literally pushing up against you. It's not pulling you down.
I thought that was the normal force.
Yes, the normal force is the only real force that exists. So gravity as a pulling force, I don't know if you knew, is just a theory. So a downwards physical acceleration of matter towards the Earth has never been detected or measured. So when you release an object into free fall, everybody thinks that the object accelerates down towards the Earth, right? That's what everybody believes. The reality is, it's the Earth that moves up to the object. So that's the reality. It only looks like it goes down because everything is moving up together.
Wait, but
It's being left behind
Because
due
when
to
you
inertia.
jump, you are like pushing again.
You're pushing up. Yes, you're adding to the force up, so that's why you gain altitude. But then the Earth catches up again, so you never come back down. So there's no force pulling us down. That's the reality. So the Earth is literally just moving up through space, and that's what creates buoyancy. You know. So here, the real reason why I'm doing this is you guys all believe the Earth is a ball, right? Yeah. So you guys understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing here, up is this way, but if you're standing down here, up is in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
In other words, in every direction away from the center will be up on a ball.
Yes.
If we could prove physically that the Earth is pushing up against us and not pulling us down, and that's what gives us buoyancy, right? How can the Earth be pushed up or move up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball? So in other words, if you're standing here, how can the Earth push up for you here and also push up for somebody down here this way? So how can it go up and down at the same time if it was a ball?
I mean, I've heard somewhere that the Earth is more like a pear as opposed to.
Well, either way, it's still a round object. That up will still be relative on a spheroid, you know, oblate spheroid. The fact is, it wouldn't work. That would mean the Earth will have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction if it was a ball, which means it would just explode. So it wouldn't work, not even on paper. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force, because if we could prove that it's the other way around, then the whole globe Earth model falls apart. So again, that will be the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So that means that the Earth is actually just an extended level plane that's moving up in one direction. So it's only pushing up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. So nobody's upside down relative to us. You know, everybody's up. Everybody's on the same level. Put it that way. And the Earth is just moving up in one direction, and that's what gives us our up. You know, and down. Everybody's up is the same. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what's the number one proof that makes you guys believe the Earth is a ball? Like, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
I've seen satellite images.
Okay, satellite images. Anything else, Lisa? The Bible. Actually, it's funny because I'm not religious myself, but there's a lot of flat Earth Christians or flat, you know.
And I'm like, the Bible doesn't.
They actually talk about a level Earth.
No,
They-
actually, the
Like
Bible.
a sphere.
Yeah, in Isaiah.
They talk about a circle, not a sphere. And there's a huge difference between a circle and a
In
sphere.
the Hebrew root, like the original.
Yeah, they just change a lot of words in it. Again, I'm not religious myself. I think all religions are they're just books at the end of the day. If physics doesn't align with what they're claiming, and then I don't believe the book. I go with physics, right?
Yeah, but
So,
it does
yeah.
translate to a circle, though.
A circle is different from a sphere. You could have a flat circle. You know, a sphere will be a three-dimensional ball, which is different than a circle. Because you could have a table that's circular, but the surface is flat, but it's a circle table, right? And you can also have a ball, which is a sphere, which is completely different than a table. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So images, right? So all the images that they show us from outer space, these are official NASA images. They admit they're all CGI. So there is no real photograph of
How
the
do
Earth.
you know they're all CGI?
They admit it, first of all. Second, these images defy physics.
Really quick.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I'm with it, like 100% in terms of like the experiments and stuff.
Sure.
I think you lost me a couple 5 minutes ago.
Oh,
Respectfully. But
No worries, man.
I
Here's my
appreciate
information,
what
and
you
here you can give it a read. And I go to other universities as well. I speak to professors, physics professors, astrophysicists, and nobody can prove it. Everyone just believes it. So physically, the Earth is a level plane that's pushing up, not pulling down. That's the force, is a push. You know, up. Yeah. So yeah, look into it, and yeah, hopefully.
I'm not science, like anything related to science at all, but I do believe in the Bible. And
Sure,
like,
I respect
the
that.
original like teachings of the Job. It's like, have you heard of Job?
I've heard of it, but no, I'm
Yeah.
not religious at all.
I
Sorry.
would encourage you to research it. You don't have to be religious. It can be just like a historical artifact.
Yeah,
But it's like
honestly.
I don't even believe in history either. I'm sorry, but
Oh.
yeah, history is just his story. It's just a story. It's in the name. It's his story.
history could count as like yesterday.
But history and physics to me are two completely
History
separate
is also
subjects.
5 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's true.
Sure. But when I'm talking about physics, physics doesn't change. Physics is what it is. We can recreate it. You know, being put through the scientific method. Something that happened in history, I cannot recreate, or you know, it's just hearsay.
It's not meant to be recreated. It's actually.
It's just meant to just be believed, huh?
Thank you so much.
Have Have a good day.
Yeah, no worries. You take care. All right, man. You too, man. Take care. No, it's crazy how. Well, good to know that all of my shade here is gone. I did not know that the sun. God dang it! I should have gone further down over there. I think I'll be okay though. Damn it! I kind of wanted some shade. No, yeah, they sounded all like interested in the beginning, but then once I brought up the subject about the Earth not being a globe, at least she admitted though. At least she admitted that she just dozed off. Nah, but the guy wasn't. The guy was listening. So man. So yeah, the guy was listening. So that was good. But yeah, at least she admitted that she just dozed off and just wasn't paying attention anymore. Hey, at least some credit there for at least admitting that, right? I can't be mad. But it's crazy to me that people would rather place relevance in history than physics. You know, that's what it comes down to. You know, at the end of the day. And again, any other flat earther, in my opinion, that's pushing history as some kind of way to prove the flat earth. Again, I kind of fell into that rabbit hole. You know, of like, oh, the history of flat earth, right? Like, oh shit, there's a lot of information here, right? But the reality is all of that information is just muddying the waters. It's just keeping people from getting to the point, to the basic physics that a child can understand, right? So focusing on the history of flat earth and models of the flat earth and stories of the flat earth and all of that is just bullshit. It's just there to muddy the waters. They're pretending to be about truth, right? But they're not. They're just muddying the waters. They want flat earth sheep to just repeat these bullshit proofs that are not even real proofs, so that when they're talking to somebody new, they're just gonna sound like a fucking idiot. That's what it's about. You know, you have all these, you know, flat earth gurus, in my opinion, talking a lot of shit that doesn't prove anything, right? When like history and shit like that, in hopes that people are just gonna repeat that, you know, and then they're just gonna look fucking stupid when they're trying to like talk to someone new, you know. So again, a lot of misrepresenting, a lot of misinformation, you know, same old, you know. So again, people could just believe whatever they want. Hey,
Are you live?
I'm actually live, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this one's actually live pointing at me. This one's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wait, what
but
is this?
yeah, so yeah, I have two very easy questions to see if people, or the students here, can get them right.
Yeah.
So the first one here is, I have 3 box trucks, and they're completely sealed, and they're all on a level surface.
Okay.
They all have an apple hanging from a string.
Yep.
The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse.
Okay.
So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Which one's at rest?
Yes, which one's at rest?
B?
Yes, why would you say B?
I'd say B because it's not moving. If it was accelerating forward, the inertia of A would have to go backwards, and then if it was going,
In reverse?
if it was going in, wait, no, if it was going forward, the acceleration or
Yeah, the
the inertia would
inertia,
have
yeah.
it, and then vice versa.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, so this one's accelerating forward because of the inertia of the apple, makes it stay in its position,
Yeah.
so everything else moves forward. So it's just being left behind. Yeah, so all right, you got it, perfect.
Okay.
So pretty easy. So the second one, pretty similar,
Yeah.
but instead of an apple, is a helium balloon.
Okay.
So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Okay, I would also say my intuition tells me it's B again.
Okay, yeah, and your intuition is correct. And it's for the exact same reason as the first, is because it's not moving, it's not changing the vector, it's remaining vertical. So which one's accelerating forward from these 2 now?
I would say it would also be A
You think so?
for the same reason.
Okay. So it's actually C.
Wow.
Well, yeah, and there's two reasons why it's C. So the first reason is helium is less dense than air, right? So that's the first reason. The second reason is a force. You need a force. So when I apply a force in this direction, for example, yes, all of the air that's inside of the truck is also being pushed in that same direction through space.
I see.
And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in that same direction of the applied force.
So if let's just say hypothetically,
Yes.
like if the balloon was able to stay suspended in the air, but it wasn't
it wasn't tied to a string.
or like okay, because it's floating up because it's being like there's a tension pulling it up because it's helium. But let's just say that it was denser, then because
If it was denser, then it'll be an air balloon. Then it'll
go
be,
backwards.
but the string will have to be tied from the top, like the apple.
okay, so if it was like the apple, but it was
Yeah, because apple is more dense than air, so the air cannot push the apple, so the apple gets left behind.
okay.
Helium, on the other hand, is less dense than air, so the air is able to push it with it. That's what's
Okay.
happening. So the helium balloon is being pushed with the air,
Wow.
because the air is also being pushed.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's C, and I can demonstrate those physics here. So again, this is a buoyant object, no different than the helium balloon. Helium is buoyant. So here I have a buoyant ball inside of water, right? If I apply a force in this direction, what direction will the buoyant object go?
In this direction?
Yes.
Well, because it's buoyant, so it should go this
Yes,
way.
it'll follow the
Yeah.
same direction.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it follows the same direction of the applied force, of the applied pressure. That's what buoyancy is. It's a chain reaction of a force. Yeah. So here, let me show you this. I recreated this experiment in real life inside of a cargo van. So here, it's a little bit hard to see, but I'll create shade here. Can you see the helium balloon and the apple?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell what direction I accelerated here, to the right or to the left?
You went to the right.
Yes.
Or my right.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Because again, that's the way matter reacted. So it
Okay.
shows you the direction that the air is moving because the helium balloon got pushed in that direction. So again, the air got moved in that direction, and that's what shows you the chain reaction. So okay, one last question. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
You have a helium balloon. It's
Yes.
gonna go up.
So again, helium is buoyant here on
Yeah.
Earth, exactly. So there's two reasons why a helium balloon will go up. Why do you think?
It's because the helium is less dense than
Yes.
the
air?
the air that makes up the atmosphere.
So that's the first reason. What's the second reason?
Second reason.
Yeah, there's two reasons why a helium balloon moves.
Second. I'm not sure.
It's a force. So again, in this scenario,
Oh, the buoyant force.
buoyancy is a force because if a buoyant object is moving, it's being pushed by the medium. So in this scenario, the truck generated the force to push the air in this direction, which then pushed the helium in the same direction as the applied force. Here on Earth, what's generating the force to push the air up to be able to push up a helium?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So here on Earth,
yeah.
what's generating the force to be able to push the air up so that then the air is able to push up a helium?
Is it the force of? It's the force of gravity pulling the air down, right, and then forcing it up.
Well, that would be the opposite effect because if the gravity is pulling the air down, then a helium balloon will get pushed in the same direction the air is moving. So the reality is, it is gravity, but it's a push of the Earth. So the force of the Earth is not a pull, it's a push. So right now, the Earth is pushing up against you.
The normal force.
The normal force. That's the only real force that exists, though. So the Earth is pushing up against you right now. It's not pulling you down towards
but
it.
against the balloon, it's the normal force of the air pushing it up.
Yes, so the ground is literally pushing up the air, which is then pushing up the
Pushing up
helium.
the-
That's the chain reaction of the force that we experience here.
I see.
But here's the thing. In order for that to happen, the ground, the Earth, will literally have to be moving up through space to be able to push up the air through space so that the helium balloon can move up through space as well. So everything is moving up right now and you're not being pulled down. So when you release an object into free fall, everybody believes that the object accelerates down towards the ground, but it's actually the ground that moves up to the object. So the upwards force is the only force that exists. And that's why an object appears to go down. It's because it's being left behind. Just like the apple with the container. The Earth is the container and when it's moving up. So anything that's more dense than the air is just being left behind. So it's the ground that comes up to objects in free fall, not the objects that go down to the earth.
So what does that say about gravity?
Exactly. So that's the real reason why I'm doing this. So you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yeah.
So you understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing here, up for you will be this way.
Yeah.
But if you're standing down here, up for you will be this way.
Yeah.
In every direction away from the center will be up on a ball. If we could prove physically that the ground or the Earth is literally pushing up and not pulling us down, and buoyancy shows us that, how can the Earth move up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball? to create buoyancy.
Well, I'm still under the impression that like
The air is being pulled down.
yeah, because it's like the gravitational pull of the Earth is stronger than the gravitational.
So the air is being pulled down, but then the air is also pushing helium up, even though the air is being pulled down.
Yeah, because the air is being pulled down, but it's still being blocked by the normal force of the Earth, which means that the balloon is in turn, because you were mentioning the chain
Yeah,
reaction, it
yeah.
would in turn
So I don't-
normal force, but it's
Sure.
equal opposite. So it's
Sure.
like the
But-
normal force is counteracting.
Sure.
The,
Did you know though, a pulling force of gravity has actually never been detected or measured, so that's why they call it a theory. So Einstein came up with his theory of relativity, and then Newton had his theory of mass attracting mass. Both of those theories are wrong because, again, a downwards force has never been measured or detected. The only force that has ever been measured is up, which is a buoyant force, which is created by the upwards push of the Earth. So a downwards pull doesn't exist. So you believe when I released this that it got pulled down, right?
Yeah.
What happens is it just got left behind due to inertia, and the table came up to the
so
object.
you're saying that we're
Constantly moving up
So-
right now. So when I release this, it's the table that came up to the object. So the object made contact with this, not this with the table.
wait. So sorry, just to be completely
Yes.
transparent, you're making a flat Earth argument right now.
So it's not a flat Earth argument.
Uh-huh.
It's actually a level Earth argument. There's a huge difference.
Okay.
So first of all, the Earth is not a ball, again, because it wouldn't work. It would just expand and explode if it was pushing up. The
Yeah.
fact is the Earth is a level plane that's moving up in one direction.
Okay.
So everybody's standing right side up to relative to each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's facing up the same direction, and because that's the direction of the Earth's motion.
But
Because we're
like
off.
what I would say that is
Yes.
the reason why like up, like if you hold up the ball on the top of the ball, up is this way,
Yeah.
right? And then if you're standing at the bottom, down, up is down, right?
Yeah.
But it's all relative because
Yes.
the center of mass of the Earth is in the center.
Yeah.
So the gravity is always pulling towards the center.
Yeah, but that's just a theory. So you're building your model based on a theory that has
Yeah.
never been proven. So if you start a model or from a false premise, then the entire model is wrong because you're starting from a false premise.
Okay,
so the
so-
whole heliocentric model starts from the premise that gravity is a pull.
Okay.
So that's why I say that's the number one proof to debunk the globe, because it's actually the other way around. In order for
Okay.
people to believe the ball Earth, they have to believe a pull.
So how would you explain things like orbiting planets and
Yeah.
satellites?
So everything about outer space, everything they're telling us about the stars and the sun and the moon, it's all just theories that are based on a theory of gravity of orbits that are mass attracting mass and creating. So it's all theories based on a false premise of
Okay.
a pull of gravity.
But when you explain practical things like
Yes.
like satellites that we've launched into space that control different things on Earth, when you look at like how we've studied the orbit of planets around the solar system and like everything else, and like how like the theory of even how the Earth is staying together as a planet because of the gravitational pull of itself.
Okay.
Like how do you explain things like that? Are you saying, like, do you hold the stance that when it comes to like these satellites we've launched into space and anything that orbits, because I'm assuming from what you're saying that with your explanation of how things are, these like those things aren't possible because of things like are constantly getting pulled up, right? So how would you explain
Things are being pushed up, sure.
Yeah, but how would you explain like a satellite orbiting the Earth or like the International Space
Yeah.
Station or something like that?
So a satellite in outer space has never been photographed, I guess you could say. So in other words, everything they're showing us from outer space is just a CGI. So,
Okay.
and they admit, they usually say that. They usually say that because they're trying to make the pictures look more, they're trying to make them look sharper. That's what they say. But they're all CGI. So there's only how high we can go. There's a limit to how high we can fly.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why. Do you understand that when a helicopter flies or an airplane flies, they have to push off of the air? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So when a helicopter gains lift, it pushes off of the air, right?
Yeah.
So the air has to be at a certain density to be able to push off of it.
Well, the reason a helicopter flies is because the rotating blades are at an angle, and when they move, they push the air. Like when you
They're
push,
pushing off of the air.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
when a rotating blade pushes this way, it's not only pushing the air back this way, it's also pushing it down because of the angle.
Sure,
so
sure.
that generates lift.
Yes,
So
be-
that's what's pushing off the air, which is pushing off the ground, which
But
allows.
it relies on the density of the air to be at a certain density, because the higher
Yeah,
you
yeah, of
elevate,
course.
the less dense the air becomes.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where the helicopter cannot push off of the air anymore, and that's around 25 miles
Jerry,
high.
Jerry, come here. Wait, I want you to hear what this guy's saying.
Want me to do the presentation to him from the start, or
no,
you just want to get into it?
He's a very smart guy. He understands
I'm not that smart, bro.
You,
Okay,
you understand
okay.
the physics of this. But
Okay.
basically, like, wait, I'll just get through this really fast because I know he knows what it is. But it's just like buoyancy, right?
Buoyancy.
So if you have an apple hanging from a truck and it moves forward, the apple swings back for inertia, right? Same thing if it
Right
moves
here.
back, it swings forward, right? Like this is the truck going forward, this is the truck at rest, and this is the truck swinging backwards, right?
Okay.
And then in like a similar sense, this, when you move it this way, it goes forward with it because the
It's
ball
less.
is more buoyant than the water. So it's the same concept, right? So basically the argument that he's making is that instead of there being a gravitational force, it's just the air going up, and in turn, instead of our planet being pulled down by gravity, our planet is what'd you say, level?
It's
Our
level
planet is
and it's just
level
moving
and
up.
it's
It
constantly
is not a
moving
planet.
up.
It's just a level extended plane, I would say.
So like there's just a plane that is Earth.
I wouldn't say it's a circle either. But I don't know
whatever
what it looks like. But it is level.
It is level.
I don't know how it looks
So
like as a
flat,
whole.
And it's just constantly moving.
Yeah, it's
up.
constantly moving up.
now solve this?
So that's what gravity is a push of the Earth.
No,
not a pull.
basically, like the premise that I think we disagree on is that he doesn't think gravity exists and that we're just constantly moving up.
Well, it was not even my opinion. It's a fact that gravity is just a theory. It's not my opinion.
Yeah, but
That's
there's a lot.
fact.
I feel like there's a lot of things that we accept that are just a theory.
And I think that's wrong. I don't think we should accept things that are based on that are just theories that are not backed by physics.
No, I
Theories
can-
are
I can
okay
respect that.
if they're backed by physics. But if a theory is not backed by physics, then I would say that theory is just
But-
like the theory of Santa Claus.
But wouldn't you
That's
say
me.
in the same way that like, let's just say the premise is that we're constantly just moving up?
Yes.
Like that. Like there. What is the reason for that as well?
It's
like,
part of whatever created this place. Again, I'm not religious myself.
Yeah.
I think all religions are there to control people.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what created this, but this is definitely a 100% a
like,
creation.
This is just the way it is.
This
Like-
is just a creation, and whatever created this place put it into motion, and that's
Okay.
what gravity is. It's a push of the Earth.
Okay, but you can understand how I would say in the same sense, like just how you say because of, like let's just say whatever created, we can call it God, we can call it universe, whatever.
Sure,
That
that's
it moved up
irrelevant,
in the
sure.
same sense that how like the possibility of that is also the same way that there's the possibility of the force of gravity.
Sure, they just flipped the script. That's what they did.
Okay.
So so the gravity, pulling force of gravity, it's a fictitious force.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a fictitious force because it's
Yeah.
based on visual perception. So visually, it does look like the object accelerates down in free fall.
Mm-hmm.
Visually, because we're within the Earth reference frame.
Mm-hmm.
But if we were moving up with the Earth because we're attached to it, and we release an object into free fall,
Yeah.
what would you expect that object to do?
What do you mean? Like
So if we were moving up with the Earth, right?
Yeah.
If we were being pushed up right now, and I release an object into free fall, in other words, it's not being supported by the upwards push anymore.
Uh-huh.
What would you expect the object to do?
it would
Be
go
left
down.
behind.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
It would appear to go down. Exactly.
So when you say that like we're constantly moving up, does that mean in like a hypothetical sense, if we had enough fans to cover the level Earth and we just pushed all the air up, could we slow down?
No.
Why not?
So if you try to create a vacuum, for example, that's what
Yeah.
you're trying to do. Air will always rush in to fill in the void.
oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
so
But
that would be
how-
physically impossible. A perfect vacuum doesn't exist. So there's
No,
always gonna
no,
be
I
there's always gonna be matter.
I just think
in
that like
space.
I just think that your argument against there being a force of gravity is kind of the same argument that anyone would say against like why the Earth is just constantly going up. Do you see what I'm saying?
No,
'Cause,
well
like,
here's the thing.
so it's like you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe, but we're kind of both at some point making an assumption. You
No,
know? So
so
who are you to tell
yeah.
me that? Like I understand, like I respect that you can question the belief that there's gravity, but I don't agree with. I don't think that you have any more of a like a solidified argument with your theory than I have with
Okay,
mine.
so real quick, a really easy experiment that anyone can do. You can do it yourself too to
Yeah.
debunk that there is no acceleration in free fall.
Mhm.
So it's very easy. So everybody's smartphone,
Yeah.
even yours, everyone's smartphone has an accelerometer built in. So that's why you're able to put it in portrait and landscape, and it switches relative to the position you put the phone.
Yeah.
It's because it's detecting the vertical force of the Earth.
Yeah.
But the vertical force again is up, not down.
See that? I think that's just where we fundamentally
Yeah,
disagree.
exactly. That's where the globe Earth did the flip. But here's how we could prove that it's up and not down.
Yeah.
So the accelerometer in your phone, you could download an app, it's an accelerometer app, and it'll detect the cell phone's acceleration. In other words, so if you
Yeah.
have the cell phone at rest like this, and you accelerate this way, or up or down, that accelerometer app will detect that acceleration from being at rest to moving.
Yeah.
Because that's an acceleration from being at rest to moving.
Yeah.
So So it detects the acceleration in any vector that you physically accelerate it, right? So however, when we have the phone like this at rest and I release it into free fall, it detects zero acceleration. So the force goes from 1g to 0g because it's not being supported by the Earth anymore.
Wait, so are you saying that the Earth is constantly accelerating
Up.
at a rate? So like, how
The
do you,
force is up.
how do you explain the do you believe in like the theory of the upper limit of the speed of light?
I don't believe in that theory, but I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the speed of light, sure.
Okay.
Here's the thing, there's two possible motions of acceleration that could be at play. So the Earth could be moving infinitely in a straight line
Yeah.
at an gaining infinite speed. So that's a possibility, which is no different. Globe Earth claims something similar, infinite space. And the second form of acceleration is a constant speed due to a constant change in direction. So you could have an acceleration while remaining at a constant speed if you're constantly changing your direction. So the Earth could be moving in some kind of cycle as well.
But would that not influence the, for lack of a better word, like perceived force of gravity?
Yes, that's why we have tides, in my opinion. So the tides is a horizontal movement of water, and water is level relative to the force of the Earth.
Okay,
so there is a movement to the Earth, to the oceans.
So that gets into like, then again.
So that's my opinion, that the Earth is not moving in a straight line.
Okay,
but,
what about?
But that's just in my opinion.
What about like other planets or like the moon, for example?
Yeah, so the lights in the sky, for example, the stars, sun, and the moon, they're just lights. So can you stand on a rainbow?
No.
Why? Why not?
Well, it's just like, it has to do with like, I forgot. It has to do with like the water vapor in the air.
Yeah, it's not a physical thing. A rainbow, you can't stand on it.
But rainbows also aren't consistent.
Yeah,
constant.
so this is what the stars actually look like when you zoom into them. It looks like they're just lights that are rippling in water.
Well, the reason the lights look like this is because of like the distance of the lights and what they're made out of, and that like that depends on how far they are.
Right. So these are
And
the
that's why images look
planets.
like that. Yeah.
So these are supposedly way closer than the stars. The stars are supposedly light years and light years away, and these are just like, you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands maybe of miles away. Point being is, with the same zoom camera, you're able to bring both into focus, telling us that they're both actually in the same position, you know, same distance from us.
Well, I don't think that's true,
In my
because
opinion.
when like the position of the sky, the stars in the sky change, and then
Sure.
predictable as well, and then that's all calculated with, you know, the orbit and like where they are and how far away they are and how they move, because we can just track that over time.
Yeah.
So that like contributes to the idea that that they're constantly orbiting, and then also like the sun going up and coming down is like the Earth spinning,
Sure.
because it's
So-
in my opinion it's a globe.
Okay.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to the lights in the sky, it's actually when we're talking about the shape of the Earth or the geometry of the Earth, a physical measurement of the Earth, looking at these stars in the sky tells us nothing about the geometry of the Earth. So I would say bringing the stars, the moon, and the sun as a proof to prove the globe is a red herring.
Well, how would with the level Earth explanation,
Sure.
how would you explain the movement of the stars, and like you can see the position of the sun as
Sure.
well, the moon, like all of that. How would you explain that?
Well, I would say that the luminaries are rotating above the Earth. So the Earth is geocentric, not heliocentric.
But how would you why does that happen?
I don't know.
Because-
that's just the way it was created, but I
because-
honestly don't know.
Okay, because when you think about I guess the more widely accepted view of, you know, the Earth being a globe, the planets, all that being the reason they're also spherical is because of gravity, you know. But that theory of gravity also contributes, and it also completely explains why, you know, the positioning of the stars, the moon, the sun, why all of that also happens. So wouldn't you say that if you can't explain the Earth consistently moving up, saying that's just how the way it is, and the same thing with all these other planets and how they rotate around what you think is the level Earth.
Okay.
Why wouldn't it make more sense for gravity to be a more reasonable explanation than what you were saying?
So again, I don't know exactly what's going on with the stars, but if, again, the Earth moving up, I would say the stars are kind of like a reflection. It's like a refraction, something closer to a rainbow, you know? So the projection that we see, that we call stars, I would say that it's just that. It's just a projection. It's just lights that I don't know where they're emanating from, but I think obviously the Earth, in my opinion, is a contained system. So if the whole Earth system is moving, then everything else is moving with it, because it's all part of the Earth system.
So you're saying that everything is accelerating at the same rate.
Yeah, because if it's connected to the Earth, then the Earth is providing that upwards push. So something that's not connected to the Earth, like something in free fall, doesn't experience a force because it's no longer being sustained by the Earth.
So then like kind of the thing that you're holding on to is you think that everything is accelerating in the same direction.
Yes.
You just don't know
Yes.
why.
Yes. So everything's heading in the same direction. It's just the way we won't be able to walk if there was no force.
Okay. Can I just ask you a couple more questions?
Sure. Yeah. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
It's just more about like there's a lot of things that more common perception are explained by.
Well, here's the thing. Let me just make a point before,
Yeah.
because I feel like you're just going into like perceptions and theories.
No, I'm saying that like these theories they kind of all intertwine and they're kind of widely supported by a lot of things, and
What-
then there is evidence to support these things.
What if I showed you physics and math to tie into the physics that proves that there is no globe Earth?
But I would say, like, what I would say is that all of this kind of relies on the fact that you don't believe that gravity exists.
Well, again, it's not just my opinion. It's a fact that it's a theory. A pulling force of gravity is a theory, and the normal force of the Earth is a push. That's a fact. I'm not even making that up. That's why the scientific community has to acknowledge the normal force, because buoyancy is a force.
Well,
It's a
there's,
push.
There's nothing that says that both can exist.
Well, physics does say that it can't both exist. You can only have a force moving in one direction. A force cannot move in two directions at the same time.
Yeah, I know, but it's two separate forces. That's the thing.
Well, apparently,
'Cause
the
there's always an
buoyant
equal-
force is a result of gravity. But if you believe gravity is down, but buoyant goes up, that's a contradiction of gravity causing the air to move down, but then somehow the air pushes the helium
Well,
up.
okay, the thing with the buoyant force is like, let's just say this ball is pushing up. Right?
It is pushing up. That's why the string is being stretched up.
Yeah, the string is being stretched up, but
Yeah.
that's because if you like have the free body diagram of this, the buoyant force is pushing it up and the gravity is pushing it down, but the buoyant force is stronger than the gravity, which is why it's going up.
But that doesn't make any sense because gravity is mass attracting mass, right?
Yeah.
So if this has less mass, it should get attracted even less.
What do you mean?
I mean, it should get attracted even more because
to where?
towards the
down?
Earth, yeah.
Well, the thing is
A helium balloon shouldn't rise if it
the
was
thing
truly
is,
mass
the
attracted.
gravitational pull of this water is it's much less strong
Yeah.
than the gravitational pull of the Earth, which is why it's still going
But
up.
again, you're basing that off of belief in the pulling force of gravity, which has never been proven. So again, your explanations or your way of looking at things is you're still having that belief in gravity. Before you go, real quick, because
Yeah.
this is huge. Do you know the radius of the Earth that they tell us?
I
This is how we
off the
could
top
prove
of my head.
physically that there is no curvature. So the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles.
Yep.
So based on the radius, we can calculate for the circumference. So the circumference is 24,901. That's the distance around the globe, right? The alleged globe. So using the Pythagorean theorem, so this is the formula,
Yeah.
we can calculate for how much curvature there should be every mile.
Yeah.
So every mile, that curvature has to increase. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So
Yeah.
how do we measure for that curve to see if it's actually there or not, right? There's actually a very easy way. So if we went out to a giant lake that was 3 miles across, filled with water,
Yeah.
and we build a level structure over that body of water,
Uh-huh.
the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because once water is contained at rest,
Yeah.
the surface always collapses to form an equal surface,
But how
which is
would
level.
you measure the level structure?
Easy.
'Cause the
You know,
level structure-
you know what a plumb line is?
Yeah.
So it's like a string that's held with a weight. So
Yeah.
you get true vertical, right? So our starting reference point will be a plumb line. So we just built 90 degrees out from that plumb line. So that will be a reference, a plumb. Because even on a globe, plumb will be plumb, even on a level or a globe. And if you start building level relative to that plumb, even on a globe, if it's a globe, then the ground should start deviating
But
from the
how
level.
do you measure if it's level?
Well,
Like, are you using something like that to measure if it's level?
Not necessarily. We're keeping everything relative to this. So yeah, we could start using instrument to keep this structure 90 degrees from the starting plumb line.
Yeah, but wouldn't you just say that? Like, I feel like someone could easily make the argument that if you're building a level structure,
But that's if you're
force-
building it in sections. People are going to say that it's curving with the Earth.
Yeah.
But not. But if we're
no, even if it is in one section, different materials have different levels of.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
you build support posts to make sure the squares stay level. So
Okay,
you
but if you're building support posts, that is going to be level with the water, right?
No. You're put it this way. The lake could be empty. You could
Yeah.
even build a trench too. It doesn't even have to be a lake. So it could be a 3-mile long trench or lake. You could build a level structure first and then fill the water after.
Yeah.
And then if you build it correctly, in other words, 90 degrees from the starting plumb line, when you fill the water of the trench or the lake, the water is going to even out to the level structure. But they're trying to tell us that water bends 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles. So So imagine if you're at an end of a lake, and then at the other end of the lake, they're telling you that the surface of that water at the other end is 66 feet below you in 10
I
miles.
mean, has this practically been proven in
Yeah,
a scenario where they
exactly.
have built an exact?
So in China, there is a 100-mile long bridge,
Yeah.
and they took 0 account of curvature. And in 100 miles, there should be like over a mile of
The
curvature.
Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
How would they account for that level of curvature?
No, I'm talking about a bridge over a
Bridge.
body of water. So they didn't account for curvature building that bridge. So all the blueprints that we use here in construction and
Yeah.
engineers, when they build railroads, through tunnels, bridges, nobody takes account of the Earth's curvature. They actually assume that all plumb lines are parallel to each other, which wouldn't work from a globe, because on a globe, plumb lines will converge to a center. But in reality, all plumb lines are parallel.
Well, I'm
to each
pretty
other.
sure just like from an engineering standpoint, in terms of materials they're using and supports that they're using as well, that like even if it's a certain length, it just becomes negligible because of
a mile
force-
of curvature is
Well,
negligible.
No, it's not a mile. It's just
When
because of the force of-
100-mile long bridge.
No, it's because of the force of gravity does even out, just like it evens out the water level. It evens out the materials that are being used. As
But
well.
it evens them out curved, so you're saying.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even them out. It
no,
curves them
Well, it does. It curves them because
of
but
the,
it's but
because of
to
a pulling
us-
force of gravity.
To us, it is perceived as flat
Right.
because
So I don't know if you've noticed, though, every explanation you're giving of what I'm saying, you're just using gravity as a pulling force.
exactly. I think that's just where
That's
we
the
disagree,
Achilles
though.
heel to the globe. That's
think-
why I say that that's the number one proof to
But
debunk
I
the
would
globe.
also say that the Achilles heel to your argument is just the assumption that everything is accelerating upwards.
Well, it's not an assumption. It's based on the laws of motion and buoyancy.
I know, but
It's not a
you're
theory.
but like
it's a law. How buoyant objects behave under certain conditions.
but it also is a theory. Just like I can drop something and say it's
No,
gravity.
a buoyant object will always react in the same direction of the applied force 100% of the time because
Yeah.
the medium that surrounds it is also moving in that direction through space.
I'm
Always.
surprised how many people aren't as smart.
No, I believe it or not, everybody is. It's just that people doubt themselves. If anything.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But everybody
the power
is.
of the mind is incredible.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
Oh, by the way, if you ever need an orthodontist, that is for you.
Okay.
Because
Appreciate that, man.
Dr. Dow is the orthodontist to go to. There's no other orthodontist you want to go to.
All right. Appreciate the
Wait,
info.
I have a
No worries,
I have, like,
man.
a meeting, so
Yes, I appreciate the chat, and here's my information.
okay, thank you.
You can check out the channel, and I go to other universities as well.
Yeah,
I
okay.
appreciate the
I
chat, man.
appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Take
Have a
care.
good
Yeah, you too. What do we have? 134. All right. Whew. Yeah, so far so good. I wanted his friend to stay. You know, he was a smart one apparently, but he just pleaded the fifth and just walked away. Smart choice from his position, I guess. In reality, it wasn't, obviously. To miss out on this kind of information, you know, I would say that's a bad thing, right? So from his point of view, though, in his state of mind, he dodged a bullet, right? But in reality, you know, he didn't. You know, but did you guys see how in this last conversation, again, nothing personal towards the guy I spoke to. If anything, you know, I appreciate him stopping and having a chat with me and asking the questions, right? I appreciate that. I actually really enjoyed that. But as you guys can see, every time I showed a proof, you know, like when it came to like a physical proof, for example, water being level and no physical measurement of water being level, and then the upwards push, you know, of the earth that gives us buoyancy, right? When I start to use practical physics and demonstrating my claims, he started using gravity as an explanation, a pulling force of gravity to be exact, as an explanation for the globe, right? To explain away the physics that I'm presenting in favor of image, right, or a belief in the globe Earth. So he was using, again, the pulling force of gravity to explain why water could bend and how it's the opposite force of the normal force, and that's why, you know, helium balloon goes up because the air's being pulled down, but the air's also pushing it up, you know, because it's an equal and opposite. So again, and obviously with airplanes and the air not rushing into space with no solid barrier, you know, gravity. So again, gravity, is the Achilles heel for the whole globe Earth model. You destroy the pulling force of gravity, you destroy the entire heliocentric model. It's literally that simple, you know. And yeah, I mean, what happens is that when people are pushed back against a wall, right, when it comes to their beliefs, you know, a lot of people just put up a wall at that point, you know, and either ridicule it, violently oppose it, or just walk away. You know, that's usually one of the three reactions, right? It's very few that are actually susceptible to the new information, right? That are actually open to the new information. You know, it's a small percent in comparison to the latter, right? To the obvious one that people, you know, just dismiss it. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is, and yeah, reality's not gonna change. Yeah, next time if I post up outside, I'm definitely gonna go over there where the shade is. Now that I know, you know, so.
So, are you running like a podcast or something?
I'm doing a live stream, sure. You can see
Oh,
that.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's this thing kind of about? I guess
Two-
you're just checking out.
Yeah, two easy questions to see
Okay.
if the students can get them right. You want to give it a shot?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So here I have 3 box trucks, and they're completely sealed, and they're all on a level surface. They all have an apple hanging from a string as well inside. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
So this one's going to be at rest.
Yes.
The one that's accelerating forward is going to be A, because the ball's going to be pulling back, because the truck is going to be in motion while the ball's still catching up to the motion of the truck.
Okay.
Then C is going to be when it's going
Opposite.
backwards, as it's going in opposite direction.
Yeah, you got it. And the apple does that due to inertia. You know, it gets left behind in
Yes.
the truck. Okay, perfect. You got it. Easy. So the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple, is a helium balloon inside. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
So B is still going to be at rest.
Yes.
That's going to be consistent. Let's see, pulling forward, the balloon's going to be... So there's also resistance probably of air. I assume this is not in a vacuum?
No,
so,
it's not a vacuum.
Not a vacuum,
It's
yeah.
completely...
Just in a
the-
normal truck, right? We're not in a, okay.
Yeah, but the air inside is completely sealed separately from the air outside. Because a lot of people think it's drag, but it's
Yeah.
not drag because the air inside is different from the air outside.
Yeah,
It's
so it
sealed.
should be, I assume... Yeah, there's no air resistance, and let's see.
There is no drag, there is no air resistance.
Then it should still be similar as the other one, where the truck pulls forward, the balloon is going to pull backward, because the balloon has to catch up to the motion of the rest of the truck.
Okay.
And then like the inverse, right? The truck pulls backward, the balloon has to catch up. Not like, again, unless you're counting like air resistance as a factor, but since here we're assuming that it's like the air that's in there is going to stay in there, and there's no kind of like wind current that's messing up where the balloon's going.
Okay, actually, the answer is actually C, though.
C.
Yes, and I'm going to explain to you why. There's 2 reasons why it's C. So the first reason is helium is less dense than air. That's obvious, right?
Oh, yeah.
The second reason is a force. So when I apply a force in this direction, all of the air that's inside of the truck as well is being pushed in that same direction through space, and because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in the same direction as the applied force or the applied acceleration. So that's what buoyancy would be. It's a chain reaction of a force.
Okay,
So
cool,
because it's buoyant,
Yeah.
a helium balloon is buoyant, right? So now I can demonstrate that physics here. So this is a buoyant ball inside of water. If I apply a force in this direction, what direction do you think the ball's going to go?
First of all, this direction. Oh yeah, that's right. The ball's going to push forward before the water does. Yeah.
Well, push
the
forward
water's
because
gonna keep
yes,
water
because the
away.
water's pushing it forward. So the water
right,
pushes
yeah.
the ball in the same direction as the applied
Right,
force. So
right.
that's what buoyancy is. Again, it's a chain reaction of a force, and
Right,
buoyancy
right.
always follows the same direction as the force. So let me ask you this: if I have a helium balloon here on Earth
Right.
and I release it, what direction does it go?
I was going to go in the direction of where the wind current is going.
So a helium balloon, because a helium balloon is buoyant, right? And,
Yeah.
and if I release it, what direction does it go?
Oh, it's going to go up.
Yes.
Yeah, unless there's enough strong wind and force.
No,
or
but let's say
something.
there's no wind.
Okay,
You just
yeah.
release it. It
Yeah.
could be inside of a
Yeah.
building. You
Yeah.
could release the helium balloon, right?
Yeah.
It goes up. There's 2 reasons why it goes up. Why do you think?
Well, helium's lighter than. Well, the air's probably composed of nitrogen.
So
and
that's the
some
first
oxygen.
reason.
Yeah.
Obviously, helium is less dense than air. What's the second reason?
Second reason, probably it's because of the speed of particles within the balloon. If it's, let's just say you push the balloon to like a certain amount of pressure, right? Then also there's just more like you're creating more movement
Okay.
of particles, especially if it's just right after the balloon got filled.
Okay,
You know, it's
you
latex.
did say the second reason. You said a push, which is
Yeah.
a force.
Right.
So the second reason is a force.
Yeah.
So again, the air is pushing up the helium. You know, so in this scenario, the truck generated the force to push the air in this direction, which then in result pushed the helium in the same direction. What's generating the force here on Earth to push the air up to be able to push up a helium?
Well, I think it's really just going to be a matter of density, right? I mean,
Well, density is the first factor, but you require a force as well. So what's generating the force? The motion to be able to push up the air, to be able to push up the helium. Because that's what force is. It's matter in motion. I'm sorry? Lift, sure, but that's just another word for motion. What makes the balloon lift? What makes the air?
Force.
What's the force?
Force minus pressure.
The force of the Earth is just a
Velocity
push.
minus pressure.
So it's gravity. But in reality, the gravity of the Earth is a pushing force, not a pulling force. So that's the reality. So the Earth right now is pushing up against you, it's not pulling you down. And
Then why don't we fly off?
because our body has inertia. So your body wants to remain in this position in
So
space.
inertia is stronger than pushing.
No. So the reason why you have weight is because your inertia is resisting the upwards push. Because when you jump, again, the Earth just catches up to you again because your body wants to remain, you know.
It's supposed to be the smaller objects being pulled towards the larger object. So,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
the theory of gravity of a pulling force, exactly.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the reality is, the normal force that they call it, the upwards push of the Earth, that's
so
the
it's an
only real
experiment
force that
shows
exists.
It's actually a pushing force.
Friction is
not
not a
pulling
real force?
Sorry?
Friction is not a real force?
Friction could be considered like a fictitious force in a way because you have to be moving through a medium, for example, to give you friction, to slow you down. So I would...
If the truck is driving, the balloon is going that way. Right?
No, in this scenario, the balloon is going forward. Because the helium balloon is less dense than air, so when you accelerate in
it's
this
a
direction,
helium
yeah, it's a helium balloon. So the
And
air,
if
the
it
helium
was
balloon,
a regular air balloon.
no,
it would
an
do
air
that.
balloon will get left behind. Yeah, yeah.
It'd be pretty interesting if a fifth grader figure this out. I have my doubts that the average.
No, if I explain
knows this
buoyancy,
question.
if I
Yeah.
explain this to a fifth grader that a buoyant object will always get pushed in the same direction, if I ask them again, they're gonna know. That's pretty easy, pretty common sense. It's just that they're not taught that at a very young age.
Okay.
But
I was getting a little concerned. I was like, all right, I think it's a biological anthropology student. I shouldn't.
It's
So I'm
just-
like figuring this out, and I'm like thinking myself at 10 probably wouldn't have.
But here's the
wouldn't have
reason.
known that
Here's
at
the
the
real
time.
reason why I'm doing this because you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So you understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing
of
here,
course,
up is this way, but if you're standing down here, up is in the opposite
Yeah,
direction from
gravity's
this.
function towards the center. Of the
Sure,
object, not-
right. If we could prove that the force of the Earth is a push and not a pull, and buoyancy shows us that, right? If we could physically prove that the Earth is moving up and not pulling you down, how can the Earth move up in every direction away from the center at the same time if it was a ball?
Right. I thought the whole point is that the smaller objects can be drawn to the larger objects. So, I mean, obviously,
Sure, that's-
space and time is always a little bit relative because obviously the Earth's still always in motion, right?
That's
We're
based on
moving
the
around
theory of
sun.
gravity being a pulling force, that a greater mass attracts a smaller mass. But again, that's just a theory that's not based on practical physics. Practical physics shows that a buoyant object will always get pushed in the same direction that the medium is also moving through space. And that's why the buoyant object is pushed in that same direction, because it can't resist, the push because the medium is more dense. So the fact that a helium balloon goes up shows me without a shadow of a doubt that the air is also being pushed up or forced up, in other words. So what's creating that push, upwards push, is the Earth itself. So the Earth has an upwards motion relative to us, which then gives us that buoyant effect.
Right, but the balloon's going to eventually come back down. I mean, the balloon doesn't just keep going up infinitely. It's more.
Sure,
like
it reaches a state of equilibrium, and then it'll pop, and then the balloon, because it's more dense in the air now without helium, it's
Yeah.
going to fall down, but in reality it's just the Earth that's going to catch up to it again. So
Right,
nothing moves down towards the Earth. There is no force downwards. The force is up. So when I release this object into free fall, the object doesn't accelerate down towards the Earth, it's the Earth that comes up to the object. So that's what physics shows, and that wouldn't work from a globe Earth, because if the Earth was moving up and it was a globe, it would have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction at the
So you're
same time.
proposing a different shape. I mean, I know there's
Yes.
some physicists that'll say that the Earth isn't exactly like perfectly spherical.
Even if it was an oblate
Yeah.
spheroid, it would
Yeah.
still have to push up in opposite directions from itself, which wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force, because if we could prove that it's the other way around, that it's actually a push of the Earth, the whole globe Earth concept falls apart.
And then
We're left with the facts that the Earth is just an extended level plane that's just pushing up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. It's not relative.
Right, but the Earth still does have a curvature, obviously. I mean, you can go into outer space, dude. You can literally get in a rocket ship, go into outer space, and take a literal picture, or literally just see it from the outside. Like, you go to the moon. People have gone to the moon. You can literally
What if
see the Earth's not flat, dude.
Okay, what if I
Like,
told?
the
Okay,
Earth's
it's not flat.
Okay,
It's
like,
level.
just-
It's level, and there's a
so
huge
saying
difference.
that.
But here, let me tell you. I don't know if you knew this. All of the images, and this is admitted, so it's not just me saying it. All of the images that were being shown of the Earth from outer space as a ball, they're all CGI. So they're all computer generated. So a genuine photograph of the Earth from outer space doesn't exist. And
So an
NASA.
astronaut could go in the International Space Station with their iPhone, take a picture of their iPhone.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's
let me
also
ask you
PR?
this again. I'm not trying to like
Uh-huh.
talk shit or anything, but
Yeah. No, I'm just asking.
is it
Yeah.
possible that they're doing these footages from the ISS using green screens, blue screens, and augmented reality? Is that a
You can
possibility?
do that anywhere, but I mean, I think the better question to ask is, why would you do that, right? I mean, like, if let's just pretend that, first of all, I have a little bit of a hard time believing it's, like, obviously there are corrupt people in every system,
Sure.
but it's not like everyone who wants to work in the field of NASA, they're all just doing it so they can try to, like, fool us. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's also just like when people say, like, oh, vaccines are a hoax. Like, no, they're just not perfect, right? Obviously, like, you know, in the case of mRNA vaccines, I'm a biological student, so I know a little bit more about biology and physics, a lot bit more about biology and physics, but, you know, the idea here is that, like, sure, the mRNA vaccine, it's, you know, you can still have an autoimmune issue to it, but it's going to be a lot safer because that, rather than just giving the virus minus the part that allows it to replicate, right? Because there's just less viral parts in there that can actually create a virus.
Sure.
You know, it's just lower risk. It's almost like if you could tell a person how to, like, defend it and attack. Like, say someone's trying to throw a punch at you, and you're able to just somehow transmit the information from to defend the punch without the person having to, like, I guess, actually throw the punch at them. You know, that'd be more ideal, even if it isn't always more practical. So, for example, if you have, you know, acquired, like, actual immunity from the actual disease itself, it's going to be stronger than the vaccine immunity. But just when you have the regular immunity, you just carry the risks of that. You know, so. But back to the point I was trying to make was that, you know, yeah, could they do a CGI? Possibly. Okay. But you also have to remember that, you know, when people went to the moon for the first time, they didn't really have AI.
Have you seen that footage by any chance? The 1972 moon landing or 1969?
Oh, I mean, the classes I've been, you know, it's shown, like, footages and stuff. But I mean, again,
I'm just asking. I'm just asking because if you have seen the footage, my next question would be: do you actually believe that's genuine footage from the moon?
I'd probably say so, but it depends. You know, I think you have to, like, look at the source, right? You have to see, like, what are the different possible angles, who's in the video, right? It's not always just one source, right? You know, so I think.
So you believe obviously that the Earth is a sphere based on images, right? But can we admit though, if we want to prove something to ourselves physically, an image is not good enough, right? Because if I showed you that, oh, I have a purple elephant that can fly in my garage, but I don't show him to you, but I just show you a picture of him, would you believe that?
It's just one way, right?
My point is that an image, when it comes to science, to proving something physically is true, an image shouldn't be good enough. You know, or a video. Would you agree or disagree?
But you have to also consider that, for example, right, as ships disappear over the horizon, right, obviously now people could say, oh, well, it's a level playing field because the ship should be a certain distance, you should have gone over. You have to remember that light also refracts.
Sure.
You also have to remember that so it's better to actually observe over land. So if you see something moving over land, and it continues to move over land, eventually it'll disappear on the horizon. You look at the sunset, right, disappearing over the horizon. So in order, if, for example, let's say if the world was not spherical, what would happen is that you just have this movement where it's just sun and moon, and then it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then kind of come around, get bigger and bigger and bigger. But because it's disappearing over the horizon, we know we're on a spinning surface, moving towards that object, and then it's going over that.
So you think the sun is going over a curve, right?
Well, it's going over the curve. So in the sense that, hey, what's up? How's it going? Yeah, he's showing me. So let's see. Are you a physics major? No, you're not a physics major? I'm not a physics major either. I should get one of my physics friends.
Real quick, you don't have to be a physics major to understand this. This will be the number 2 proof. And do you guys know the radius of the Earth by any chance?
Not off the top of my head.
So NASA and obviously any other space agency will claim they have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth, allegedly, is 3,959 miles. And based on the radius of the Earth, we can calculate for the circumference, which is the distance around the whole thing, right? 24,901 miles, based on the radius of the Earth that they're telling us. So using a calculation like the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we can easily calculate for how much curvature there should be every mile based on the radius of the Earth. And it actually turns out that there should be 8 inches per mile squared. So that means that in the first mile, there should be an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. And in 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of measurable curvature, which is a 6-story building. So how do we measure for that curvature to see if it's truly there, right? There's a very easy way. So if we went out to a giant lake that was 3 miles across, for example, filled with water, and we build a level structure above that surface of water, for example, the water, once it's contained and at rest, the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because once water is contained and at rest, the surface always form a level surface, which is horizontal. That's what physics shows. That's what the physics of water shows. They're trying to tell us that the surface of every lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles, which is a physical
You know
impossibility.
that water also can change shape. Water is dynamic. It's
Well,
not,
water changes
yeah.
the shape of the container, but the
Yeah.
surface always equalizes the level. And that's where we get these from. That's why we use liquid in them, because these are used to measure level. Because that's what liquids do when they're contained and at rest. They always form a horizontal surface. But they're trying to tell us that water bends 8 inches per mile squared when it's contained. So every lake on Earth supposedly is bending at this rate, which is a physical impossibility. If you go to any lake on Earth, you're going to observe and measure. You could measure it too, again, that the surface of water is always going to be a horizontal. And that's where the term sea level comes from, because the oceans are also horizontal as well.
How do you know it's pushing? Going back to the concept you just said, it's about pushing force.
Yeah.
But you could also
This will be
mention
the
that
number 2 proof.
You could also mention that's a double pulling force in the sense that obviously, right? Your body's so much infinitesimally smaller than the Earth itself. There's like a little bit of pull. You would have every single body have a little bit of pull, but it's just that the Earth is so much bigger that its pull would be much greater. So instead of like, they also have pushing forces. Well, you have to consider other forces. For example, you have the charge of an ion, right? So like charges will repel, opposite charges will attract. There are those forces, and also temperatures that can also influence the speed of molecule movement. So I think it's
Temperature is changing pressure.
Yeah.
And then what you're saying, ions and batteries and all that, I wouldn't say that's a force. I would say that's just energy, which is a concept, which can be it's potential energy. In other words, you could use that to create a force, to create motion. But electricity itself, like a battery, for example, ions, I wouldn't say that's a force, in general.
I'm just gonna get one of my physics friends on the phone. See what he has to say. I'm just curious to see what he has to say. I'm not sure if he was busy right now.
Sure. No worries, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I've spoken to physics professors at UCR as well, and to be honest, they don't have anything to add. To be fair, but
I don't know if they'll pick up. We'll see. I'll give them
no worries, man.
Yeah, I was curious to see what they say.
Try to give them a overall.
Hey, what's up, dude? Hey, what's up? So, in case you're curious, there's this guy who's doing some podcast thing. It says like, "Are you smarter than a 5th grader?" And he has a. I don't know if you're busy right now, but like, he's got different like earth shape. I don't know how good you are at the physics and stuff. You said you're pretty good at physics. You're more the math guy, but like, I don't know if you wanted to challenge that.
Take a picture of this and send it to him to double check.
Oh, you're busy right now? Okay. All right, no worries here. All right, sounds good. All right, take care.
If he's a math guy, take a picture of this and send it to him. Tell him to double check this formula. Because a lot of people would say that 8 inches in 1 mile is too much curvature.
Yeah.
But again, based on the radius that we're being told.
Can you show me the other two?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to send those to
these are,
as well when it's more time.
Exactly. So. And then obviously, this will be the number 2 proof. The number 1 proof is the fact that gravity is a push, again, not a pull.
Yeah. All right. And then so your final conclusion was what? I have to get going.
So the final conclusion is that we are being lied to at a mass scale about what the Earth is, and the reason why they're lying to us, because a lot of people have that question, like, well, why would they lie to us about that? Well, the reason is to dumb people down so that they're more easily controllable. That's the main reason why they lie to us about the shape of the Earth.
And so what's his mechanism for control?
The mechanism for control is psychological.
Right, but I mean, like, you're saying they want to control. Okay, but let's just say that you're right and that you have your new shape, which, okay, so give me a concise answer. What do you think you're saying, what is this actual shape?
So I don't know the entire shape of the Earth as a whole. All I know that the surface that life inhabits, all humans inhabit, the surface of that Earth is level. So what does it look like as a whole? Like underneath, is it a square? And I don't know. The surface that we live on is level though.
We don't believe that the circumference.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it looks like
in the center.
Yeah, how the Earth looked like in 3-dimensional space as a whole, I have no clue. All I know, because nobody's been outside of the Earth. That's another thing. Everything.
People have been in space. That's not fake. That's not fake.
I would say that you just have a strong belief.
Strong belief. I mean, because you can also say to a creationist about their belief in the Earth being created in 6 days.
I don't believe.
There's mountains of evidence that have proven that wrong.
I will agree with that.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously now the whole point of science. Yeah. Now again, obviously people have their agendas, but in general, the field of science is that it's supposed to be that you're trying to create falsifiable hypotheses that can always be tested at any moment. So the concept is, right, we can always retest these things.
But we can falsify gravity.
What papers have you gotten these published in? I mean, like, it's always good to propose things, but if you want to make it something that's public, then why not try to propose this to science?
If the publishers are bought out, by the news agencies and all that, what, and they're all for a globe.
Well, a lot of them are double blind, meaning that you send it to someone and they have no idea who you are, they have no idea where you come from. You could be 100 years old, you could be 10 years old, you could be the richest man in the world, you could be the poorest man in the world. They have no idea who you are. They're just going to look at your paper, and then if they agree with it or not.
But if what's being presented goes against the current narrative that they're pushing, in other words, if it goes against what they're pushing, you really think they're gonna put it out for everyone to see?
Oh yeah, I mean, people, for example,
I don't think so.
For example, as anthropologists as well as biological anthropologists,
sure.
One of the things that we talk about a lot is the continuously changing perspective on human evolution in terms of the amount of time it took to go through the hominin ancestors. Initially, people thought that the brain size developed kind of coincident at the same time as developing bipedalism. But sorry, I'm just
no worries.
At the same time, though, but it turns out that was actually not true. That the bipedalism actually occurred first,
okay.
And again, this is challenging. It was challenging a popular notion, right? The bipedalism occurred first, and then the brain size changes occurred a little bit later.
Okay.
So what does this mean, right? Now, they could say, oh, well, they could try to use it as a mechanism of control, but the question is, what particular benefit do they have, right? I mean...
So here's a mechanism of control, I think, to try and simplify it, right? It's psychological because the only way to control humans, you can't control humans like animals, in other words. You can't just put them in a pen and just
force...
Well,
you can if you raise what's called Stockholm syndrome, right? If you raise
yes,
someone,
that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
People have Stockholm,
like
yes.
Animals.
Well,
because we are animals.
We are animals, but you cannot physically control with they say that they did, but it'll be harder. Let's just say it'll be harder to control humans like animals. So the easier way to do it is psychologically, again, like Stockholm syndrome, where people just place trust in their abusers or their, and that's exactly what's happening.
I mean,
People
we're told to challenge our professors, right? We're not told to just blindly trust your professors. The professor says something, they're always welcome to.
But that's what's happening though. Instead of people jumping on board with physics, right, and trying to break physics, in other words, people would rather defend NASA, for example, because they're going through Stockholm syndrome, because they don't realize that they've been brainwashed. I don't want to use that word, but that's for a lack of a better term, and people defend their oppressors, and that's exactly what we're going through.
You have
because it's like psychological attack.
I'm just curious, how many people are you pose this to?
Hundreds.
Okay.
Hundreds.
So, if that's the case, then, what's your channel called?
Level-Headed William. Here, I can give you my channel.
Yeah, because it's look.
I go to universities all the time.
Changed, but I'm not saying that you can't be, critical. The whole point of the scientific field is that you're supposed to be critical, and you're always supposed to question what you're being taught. That's what makes it different than religion, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people will be like, oh, well, your fossil record is just a bunch of faith. It's not faith-based, it's fact-based as much as we can, right? Just because you don't have a complete fossil record doesn't mean that evolutionary biology isn't true, right? It just means that we're still learning more about the nature of evolutionary biology, but what are the trends, right? And I think the general trend is Earth's older than we thought, right? Human species older than we thought. And then the other trend is that human species are new compared to the other species, right? We're discovering that we're kind of like in a very, very small pocket of the Earth's existence, the universe's existence, right? So I think what's important here is that we might not have all the information, but generally what are the trends, right? And I think the trends generally point in certain directions, right? And obviously I'm not a physics major, so I can only comment so much on this, but in general, right, if you look at, I guess I'll try to use biology as an example as much as I can, right? There are certain forces that make it so that, for example, an insect can only be so large. So during the Carboniferous period, insects were significantly larger, the size of birds, right?
Sure.
But today that's not really possible because there's not enough oxygen in the atmosphere. There's a lot of different variables in terms of how much sea ice melts, if there's a certain amount of cyanobacteria present in the environment. But there are general laws of physics. Why can't people be the size of Godzilla, right? It's because that there are physics that make it impossible, because because the cells will grow in 3D space, but the surface area is not going to increase at the same rate, so the cell's going to be small, right? Bone density and strength only increases at a certain rate, but as you increase in size, the two are not proportional, so the square cube factor, right? So those things exist, but So what do you think makes, from a biological perspective, what makes your theory that you propose true?
Well, this is not biology. This is physics.
Right. But the
so
physics
I don't have
is
a
connected to biology. It's
Sure,
connected-
it's all part of
Yeah.
natural science, but there's
Yeah.
different branches of natural
course,
science.
but
So this is
that-
a branch of physics.
Yes, but then that-
I wouldn't have an opinion based on biology.
That's okay, but the reason why I mention this is because that it's not just a bunch of physicists that are like trying to lie about it. It would be a bunch of biologists that are also, because what you're essentially saying is the biologists and the chemists and the physicists and the geologists and the anthropologists and the oceanographers, right, and all these other branches of science, right. The whole point is that they're gonna say things, and if one piece kind of contradicts the other fields and it's not consistent, then it's gonna be revised. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but the strength of science is its ability to be revised. So if NASA was let's say NASA was trying to lie, right? What would happen is that a whole bunch of other fields would be able to go against it, right? Because nature, like, they're not all controlled by the same person. They're not all one entity. NASA is just one group. There's many other scientific groups that say.
Have you heard of compartmentalization?
Sort of,
Yeah. So NASA is literally just that. So the people that work in the landing equipment are different from the people that work in the propulsion lab, and people that are different from the safety gear, and there's other people different from. So the whole how NASA is established is literally all compartmentalized, which means nobody knows exactly what's going on. So everybody just does little side jobs, right? And then NASA, the main people at NASA put it all together and then send rockets into space, right? So nobody that's in these fields has to know the bigger picture. They were all just there to do a job, and it's compartmentalized for a reason, because it's all being controlled by the same entity. You think it's not being controlled by the same entity, but they are.
NASA's one agency. There's a lot of other space.
Yeah, but they all get
agencies.
government
Northrop
contracts.
Grumman.
If you want to work with NASA, guess what? You're going to need a government contract to work with them.
Yeah,
so you're going to have to sign an
Americans are not the
NDA.
only people that are sending people to
Same
space.
concept anywhere else. It's the same concept.
But again, if everyone was lying in the exact same direction, right? Because for example, let's take a look at the historical aspect of the creationism versus evolution, right? Now, people around the world probably would believe in that because that was the message that was being spread through particular texts. However, though, when you look at like modern evolutionary biology, right, it's that there's a bunch of different people that come from different backgrounds, but they're studying the same thing, right? But they're able to prove it in many different locations. So for example, like a faith-based claim would be like saying, let's just say, for example, as a lot of, I'm agnostic by the way, there's a lot of Christians that say, someone rose from the dead, okay, but then in order for you to be like, that's like a theory, it would have to be like, you have to go to like set up a new like hypothetical Roman Empire, and then set up a new group of Jews, and then put everything all the exact same way, and then repeat it over and over again and get the exact same result, and you have to create like a falsifiable hypothesis, right? So now I'm not saying that what you're saying is 100% wrong. I don't think I'm qualified to say that. But what I do think I am qualified to say is that to just assume that everybody all just, because, again, these people grew up go to school just like we did, right? They live like they're not. That's why I hate it when people say everyone in the system, like the system is just out to get you. But it's not always the case, because the people that are in the system went to school with us, played sports with us, played music with us, right? These aren't just like aliens dropping in from outer space and just taking over and taking control.
Right.
These are other people that you grew up alongside with, right? So to say, all the people that you went to school with and stuff, they're all just they all just collaborated to control you. There's some of them, but not all of them. I think that's a little bit. I think that's taking it a little bit too far. And as I said, right, NASA doesn't control biology. NASA doesn't control anthropology, right? These are completely different fields. But
they control space, which is made up.
They control space, but outer space is not made up. Okay?
But yeah,
sure. The
sure.
universe is very, very large. Now, obviously,
I will
we might
accept
know exactly how large it
that there is a space or an area outside of the Earth system. I would agree, because the Earth is moving, so it has to be moving through an area. I would say that outer space, I started depicting it. In other words, a vacuum with other planetoids that are light years away, and it's just filled with stars and suns. That depiction of outer space is wrong, because what's outside of the Earth, I don't know. They're part of the Earth system, though. They're not outside of the system.
You think the stars
are part of the Earth system? Yes.
You think Polaris is part of the system?
Yes. This is what the stars look like. I don't know if you ever zoomed into them with the optical zoom camera. This is what they look like. Just
and
the
what's
light.
The zoom camera? What technique are you using?
82 times optical zoom. So it's not digital zoom. So it's real zoom, and you're able to bring them into focus like
What
this.
makes your camera so much more real than every other camera that everyone else is?
Well, my camera, anyone can buy it. It's the Nikon P900, and they have the P1000 now, which has more zoom still. But anyone can buy that camera and verify that this is what the stars actually look like, and it looks like they're just lights that are changing.
What do you think stars are made of, though?
I don't know.
That's the case.
What do you think a rainbow's made out of?
where rainbows in water refracts.
I would say the
against
stars are
air.
probably something similar.
Okay, you think stars are really water?
I think
refracting?
if you zoom into them, it looks like the stars are just rippling in water. It looks like they're rippling in water, literally.
Yeah, you really think.
Yeah, outer
I mean,
space.
the amount of size and energy
Have-
that would take. I mean, if they're.
Have you heard
know,
of the second law of thermodynamics? Sorry to interrupt, but have you heard of the second law of thermodynamics?
So one of the I forgot the exact order.
Or
but one
have you
them
heard of
is out the
entropy?
law.
Entropy.
Yeah,
Entropy. So in order, that basically says that in order to have two opposing pressure systems, you need solid containment to separate the two. So if I wanted to create a vacuum right here, I would need a solid cube or a solid container, and obviously suck the air out of that container. And in order to maintain that vacuum separate from that atmosphere here on Earth, that container has to be completely sealed, right? Because if it has a tiny little hole, guess what's going to happen? The air is going to start to rush in, right? Because of entropy, the law of entropy. High pressure will always move to the lower pressure unless there's a solid barrier separating the two. They're claiming outer space is a negative pressure system next to the Earth's pressure of 14.7 psi, allegedly, without a solid barrier separating the two. So that defies physics, how outer space can coexist next to the Earth without a solid barrier separating the two. The air will instantly rush into space to fill in the void if that was the
But
case.
again, this is the reason why we. Again, I'm not a professional physicist, but this is the reason why, in general, the consensus. And you can ask people that are not physics
Sure.
people, they're like biology people. You can ask a person that's never met a NASA person in their entire
Sure.
life, has studied biology or anthropology their entire life, they'll say a similar thing, right? Because we're assuming that if gravity is some sort of pulling force, that things that have mass will be pulled. But again, right, light is a particle that does not have mass.
Yeah.
So light does not light's a little bit of an exception to this rule in the sense that it's a particle without mass. It's both
Sure.
particle and wave.
Yeah, I
so
would
that's
agree.
why, light from distant stars doesn't just get sucked back to the star and prevent from moving, right? Light can move. That's why light is the fastest particle of all the at least of all the known particles.
Well, I'm
right?
not necessarily talking about light. I'm talking about the air here on Earth.
Yes, but the
air
stars
pressure.
project light, right? The
Sure.
stars are projecting light that's
Sure.
coming from, I don't know the exact distance off the top of my head, but let's just say millions, billions, regardless of the number of light years away.
Yeah.
The concept still applies in the sense that if the stars, if the stars were functioning in such a way that their light energy was processed in the same way that, let's just say, oxygen is on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then the light would all just kind of fall into that spheroid. Oh, sorry, are you going?
No, I'm just listening in, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then.
Sure, if you have any questions about the
I
topic.
don't take too long. If you have any questions, I don't want to hog up all the time.
So are you talking about whether Earth is flat or?
No, the Earth is not flat either. It's level. There's a huge difference between flat and level. So, would you like me to explain the difference between flat and level?
He was trying to.
I know, I was a little scared. He was back into me, so I was kind of kept my eye on it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the concept is that he was just saying that it's like, at least the last thing he said.
So here's the thing. Let me just explain the overall premise here, right?
Okay.
So you've heard of buoyancy, right?
Buoyancy.
So you know what?
Have I heard of it? Yes. Am I like a buoyancy expert? No.
Okay, but do you know what buoyancy is? Could you give me an example of a buoyant object? Yeah, this is a buoyant
Like
object.
a balloon.
Yeah, or a helium balloon will be buoyant. So here's the thing. My whole premise is that a buoyant object will always get pushed in the same direction as the applied force. So I can demonstrate that, for example. So this is a buoyant object, right?
The red thing.
Yes, the red ball. It's floating in water because it's less dense, right? It's buoyant, in other words. If I apply a force in that direction, the force of me pushing the container in that direction creates a pressure gradient within the water. So the water pressure then is able to push the buoyant object in that same direction as the force because it's more dense than it.
Can you demonstrate that?
Yeah. So the buoyant object will always get pushed in the same direction as the force because the medium is more denser and is able to push it in the same direction as applied force, right? And that's physics. You can demonstrate that every time. It's always, and you can do it with different states of matter. If you have a helium balloon, I did an experiment too, in a cargo van, and you accelerate the cargo van forward, the helium balloon will get pushed forward because it's buoyant. So a buoyant object will always follow the direction of the force 100% of the time. So,
Well, on that scale.
well, in any scale, you could have a giant container and it'll be the same physics. The physics don't change because it's the air. If the air is pushing the helium in any direction, the air also has to be moving in that same direction through space.
Alright, so does that apply to the planet somehow?
That applies to the physics here on Earth as well. So when a helium balloon goes up, why do you think it goes up?
I guess
It's
the air around it, I guess, is like heavier than
yes,
the helium.
and is able to push it up, but
So
you also
the
require
air
a
is like-
force.
The air is like sinking, I guess.
The air is sinking?
Or like, I mean, if you had like a whole like cloud of helium in a balloon with air in it, the air would sink.
Are you a physics major? Or physics
That's
person?
kind of like the. Well, like,
Well, again,
like heavier than the balloon. To the
so put it this way, the helium balloon will always get dragged in the same direction the air is being pushed. So if a helium balloon is being dragged up, what direction is the air moving in?
I mean, if you have like a room full of like really still air and you like have this helium balloon in the bottom, the helium balloon is gonna like float up.
Why does it float up? That's the question. There's two reasons why a helium balloon
I don't know
rises.
why. I don't think it's
The first reason, yes, because it's buoyant, it's less dense in air. What's the second reason? You need a force. Force is what causes motion.
I mean, well, from what my experience in learning physics, I've taken 1 year of physics in high school.
Okay.
And I guess like gravity is the force present there. It's like nothing is like okay. The only force like being applied on the helium balloon is the force from the air, and air is applying force because gravity is applying force on the air. The gravity is like
Yes.
pulling the air under the balloon.
Well, here's the thing. It is a chain reaction of gravity, of a force, but the reality is the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. So if they want us to believe that the air is being pulled down,
Right?
but the reality is the air is being pushed up. So the Earth is pushing up against you right now, not pulling you down.
Newton's like second law, like you know, like if like
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Sure, that has nothing to do with the globe.
oh shoot, no, it's like one of Newton's laws.
Oh no, the second law is F equals ma, which is a force equals mass times acceleration.
Okay, it's one of the laws. I think I'm getting the numbers mixed up. But it's like
The first law is an object at rest.
Like if I'm like pushing my finger down on this table, I feel it because the table's like pushing back at me.
Well, it's not
like there's
necessarily-
no normal force from the table.
Well, the table's not pushing up; it's just resisting your downward push. Because it's obviously if
I mean, the table doesn't have like muscles to push up.
well, but it has legs
say
made of
I'm-
steel.
All right, so I'm about like
Put it this way: if
with
you
my
did,
backpack, I'm like about like 170 pounds. Okay, I stand on 1 foot. There's like a 170 pound force going down into the cement. With only,
I would
yeah.
say that
yeah, that's
you're
like there's
it's-
a force vector there. And
No.
then when
I'm glad
and
you
then
used the
the only
word.
reason I don't like sink into cement and fall down is because of whichever law, like Newton's law that was. That's like say I'm not 170 newtons, but like whatever, however many newtons I weigh,
Right.
like it's like that many newtons back up, which is why I'm not moving. Yeah.
So, but here's the thing: you just.
Do you
so-
do you disagree with
I
that?
disagree that gravity is a force that accelerates matter. So the vector of the Earth is not down; the vector is up. So it is vertical. We have a vertical vector, but it's up, not down. So the force of the Earth is up, not down. So and here's how easily we can prove that. So
I mean,
real quick,
is that just like can that just be like a matter of like perspective?
yes,
Like,
yes. So
I just,
visually,
like,
yeah.
do a handstand and then it's like everything looks different.
So-
but like at the end of the day, it doesn't really change it.
Visually, it looks like there is a downwards vector when we release an object, but physically, physics, buoyancy, in other words, physics shows that the vector is up. Visually, it looks like it's down. Yes, because a buoyant object cannot get pushed, for example, up if the air is not being pushed up as well. That doesn't make any sense to me. How can the air push the helium up if the air is not being pushed up?
We have to also consider the temperature that's affecting the air molecules, right? So things that are of higher temperature, molecules of higher temperature are going to move at a faster rate. That's going to create currents and convections, right?
Did you know? Do you know why lighter gases or temperature like fire? Why does fire rise?
Down? I think the helium balloon is pushed up the same way like a balloon filled with water would like fall.
No, the balloon filled with water falls due to inertia, and the Earth just catches up to it, and the helium balloon is literally being pushed up by a force.
Wait.
So something in free fall is not being pushed down or pulled down. It's just being left behind. So the Earth is constantly in upwards motion. So if something is not connected to the Earth or supported by the Earth's push, then it just starts to fall behind, and the Earth just catches up again. So everything's moving up. So let's say we were moving up with the Earth right now, right? And this was being supported by the upwards push. If I remove that support, in other words, if I remove my hand, what do you expect to happen if we were all moving up?
If we were all moving up.
And I release something into free fall, what do you expect to happen? If I was creating that upwards push, and for me holding it, and I release that upwards push, what's gonna happen?
That makes sense if I like see like a diagram on paper, but
So
say I'm Actually,
Yes.
well, maybe that's a little heavy. Is there anything I can like drop on the ground here,
Like
a
a
bungee? Or
like
no?
a feather, or what are you trying to do?
Like-
You could do this.
Is that okay if I
Yeah,
drop
that's
it on
fine.
the
That's
ground?
fine.
Like, okay, can I toss it up?
Sure, you
okay.
can toss it.
So, toss it up and drop it on the ground.
Yeah.
Its velocity right before it hits the ground is faster than its velocity when it's like up here going down. It's accelerating.
So you're measuring that velocity based on this distance over time, right?
Yeah, but isn't the quadratic equation?
But how do we
squared?
know that the velocity of the distance over time that we're measuring? How do you know that it's the object coming towards the ground and not the ground coming to the object? That's what's
I
up
guess
for
I'm
debate.
not using the velocity to determine that, but
Because we
one
could,
interesting thing to note about the acceleration.
because when you drop something
with this
yeah,
level
yeah.
is that
What's up? Are you a physics guy?
Not really.
Yeah, he's trying to like make a new claim, but I don't know what you thought.
the
You know?
level or this is
Yeah. What's his claim? He's
Oh
trying
my
to
god, I
claim
think it'll
the
break
guy.
it. Did it's cool.
Gravity is a pushing force as opposed to a pulling force.
Yeah, so gravity
but
is a push of the Earth, not a pull, and that debunks the globe Earth, 100%.
It's a push.
It's a push of the Earth. So the Earth is pushing up against you right now. It's not pulling you down. You want to know?
I agree. Yeah.
You agree?
Well, it's pushing me. Otherwise, I would be sink down to the center of mass, right? So it's got to push me to keep me up.
No. So you're talking about the normal force, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe in gravity as a pulling force as well? So put it this way. Let me ask you the more direct question. If I have this object right here, and I release it, do you believe this object moved towards the table in 3D space, like this moved towards the table, or what do you believe?
Well, yeah, it's relative.
Visually, it is relative.
Well, not even
Physically,
visually,
it's
just
not. No, if we're just using vision alone, then it's relative. Then it's based on how you're looking at it.
Well, it's like if
But
you have-
physically, the force is up. How do we know that? Buoyancy. You know what buoyancy is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's a buoyant object, right? So why is it buoyant?
Because it's lighter than its surroundings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is it going up though? Why do you think the buoyant object's being pushed up?
A little bit.
The gravity is
This
pulling the
one, like, I
heavier
don't have as
things
much to
down.
say about it, but I think what he said before.
But why does this have motion up?
Because the things that are denser are moving close to the center of mass.
That's why I was here.
Yeah. So you're saying that a less dense object just moves in the opposite direction?
Because everything else is trying to go under, so
Okay.
it gets squeezed out.
So here's the thing, look. This is a buoyant object, right? A buoyant object will always get pushed in the same direction as the applied force or applied pressure. So in other words, if I apply a force in this direction, because because the medium that surrounds it is more dense, so it's able to push it in the same direction of the applied force. So in order for this water inside this container to push the buoyant object in any direction, the water also has to be moving in that same direction through space to be able to push something that's less dense. So again, if I move the water in this direction, the air is able to push the buoyant object in that same direction. So the air here on Earth is pushing helium up, which tells me that the air is also being pushed up through space. That's the only way that a buoyant object is able to be pushed up by the air, is if the air is also being pushed up. But what's creating that push? It's the Earth
I don't
itself.
think it's pushing up. It's just the air's trying to come down. It's like you got to get out of the way.
Yeah. So because you believe in a pulling force of gravity, right?
I guess so. I guess
Yeah.
if
So
that's what that means.
I don't know if you knew, a pulling force of gravity has never been measured or detected, and that's why it's just a theory. So that's why Einstein came up with his general theory of relativity, just to give an explanation to why objects appear to go down without any acceleration. Yeah, so this doesn't accelerate down towards the Earth, which technically it should if it is moving down. Because something that's at rest and then it moves, that's an acceleration. From being at rest to motion is acceleration. So if you have an object right here and then you release it and people are claiming that it accelerates down, that's not true enough. So accelerometers, so there is physical devices that we can use. So accelerometers detect zero acceleration in free fall. Accelerometers, on the other hand, detect that there's an upwards push of the Earth. So when you have an accelerometer resting on Earth, it detects 1G because it's detecting a vertical upwards push of the Earth. When it's no longer feeling that push of the Earth and it's in free fall, it goes from 1G to 0. So it's no longer feeling a force, so it's not accelerating down. It's the Earth that comes up to the wall.
It also go over.
So that's the reality.
From a
And also water
mathematical
reflects.
perspective,
Sure.
if
Also
the
water
model
reflects
is
light. So that's why
sufficient
people
enough
fly.
to emulate whether it's a
That's why they
pulling
go
force
over
or I
land.
can get what I want out of it.
horizon
That would be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Einstein actually touched on this subject. Look up the equivalence principle. So he acknowledged that whether the Earth was pushing up or had a gravitational field pulling down, visually we wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
It doesn't matter.
But physically, we could. Buoyancy shows us that. So what's moving towards what, right? Visually, it's relative. But physically, it's up. So that's the reality. So the force of the Earth is a push. And you might ask yourself, well, what relevance does that have, right? What does it matter, right? You believe the Earth is a ball, obviously, right? Do you understand that up is relative on a ball? So if you're standing here, up is this way, but if you're standing, so up is every direction away from the center will be up on a ball. If we could prove that the ground is moving up through space, in other words, pushing up and not pulling you down, how can the Earth move up at the same time in every direction away from the center if it was a ball? How can the Earth move up if you're standing here, for example, and down here and down and right here? How can
Something's holding it together.
How would it work though if it was moving up? Like
it would just get bigger.
Yes, it would just expand and explode.
If you prove that the world's going up, then you can't say
Yes, exactly. That's why this is the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth. That the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. Because if we could prove that it is a push, then it wouldn't work from a globe, it would just explode. So the fact is, the Earth is just a level, extended plane that's pushing up in one direction.
So what about like the shadow of like the Earth?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the Earth. That's just something else that's happening in the sky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They call it a black sun, or it has a different name. So there is another celestial entity there that cannot be seen. That goes, that casts a shadow.
So would you say the other planets are also flat?
So the planets, the whole heliocentric model, it's pretty much just a concept. So everything about outer space is just a concept based on what we're seeing. So the lights in the sky, this is what they look like. Nobody knows what they are. But if you're trying to use the lights in the sky to try and prove the shape of the Earth, that's a red herring, which means it's a false argument. Because the stars in the sky have nothing to do with the physical.
What about the planets? Like they take pictures of close pictures of planets.
Yeah, I would say these are just lights in the sky, so nobody knows exactly what they are. But I would say they are fascinating. Other than that, they don't prove nothing about the Earth.
So, like the moon, would that be a light in the sky?
Yes. I don't know if you knew, the moon casts a cold light, the opposite of the sun. So if you have moon shade, the moon shade is warmer than direct moonlight. So I haven't done that experiment myself directly, but I've seen other people do it, and the moon shade is warmer than the moonlight. So the opposite of the sun.
So
So nobody knows what they are actually.
So So like the moon is just like a light.
Yes,
like
it's just a light.
Somebody's like shining it.
No. I don't know what's causing the light to. So it's
okay.
part of the creation, definitely. Like the sun.
But it's not like a physical ball. That's
No,
orbiting us.
no. I don't know where it's emitting from, but I don't think it's a physical object floating in the sky. The sun and the moon. I don't think they're physical objects.
I never heard that.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. Again, nobody knows what they are, but at the end of the day, nobody knows. It doesn't prove the ground we're walking on at the end of the day. So here's
But if you can prove it's a physical thing, and then then is the sun also not like a sphere then?
Well, I don't know what the sun is. The sun could be a circle. It doesn't have to be a sphere.
Well, like a 2D, like a
2D. It could be a flat circle. I don't know. Again, at the end of the day, I don't even think it's physical. I don't think it's a physical object that's just floating up there.
What is it?
It's a reflection of something else in my opinion.
You don't think light's physical?
Huh?
You don't think light's physical?
I don't think light's physical.
Well, I mean, okay, then how come when you shine light over metal, it heats up, right? Because there's an interaction.
Oh, yeah,
right?
there is.
Photons can directly interact. Because light is both a wave and a particle, so it does have a physical aspect.
Well, it doesn't have any density, I guess is my point.
Yeah, so, but again, there's a reason why I was kind of mentioning earlier that...
It doesn't have any mass, basically. Light doesn't have any
but that's
mass.
exactly why you can have light from a distance. You can have a star or any object where there's a pulling force, but the light can still get here, right? Because if light had mass, then it would just get sucked back to the star, just like how water would get sucked back down to the earth.
But again, that's just you believing a false premise of pulling force of gravity.
But at the same time, light can come across distantly, from a different solar system.
Sure, if you believe in a vacuum of space. Sure.
Right, it's possible for it to exist because since light doesn't have the mass, right, but it can still come and affect. It can affect physical particles, but it doesn't have mass. So that means that it won't have to be confined to that region. So the light can actually move across these different. That's what I'm saying. Light is harmonious.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows exactly how light works and how it travels. People think that it travels linearly, like when you shine light, but nobody knows exactly how it works.
Well, light travels until something.
Well, that's what we've been told, that light travels like linearly, and it just, if you shine a laser over there, like it travels linearly. And the reality is nobody knows exactly how light works. That we have theories again, like the speed
but
of
the
light
point of
and
the
all
scientific
that.
theory is that it's the most established.
Sure.
It's the most established knowledge that it's open to being changed. That's why it is a theory. That's what makes it different than a religion where they just say, "Oh, this is how it is," and then don't.
You can't question it. That's the globe, but not.
So if the Earth is flat, then
level.
you can a level. Yeah. What's the difference?
So let me explain the difference between level and flat. So over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So that's the psyop. So they claim that when you release an object into free fall, that it accelerates down as well. So no different than the globe Earth. So they denied the upward push of the Earth. So the number one proof that debunks the globe Earth, flat earthers aren't on board. That's kind of weird, right? Yeah. So that's a controlled opposition.
So, but what's like a level?
So the level Earth is an orientation. So an orientation requires a force. So level is an orientation relative to the vertical, which is the force of the Earth. So level again requires motion. So if the Earth is level, then it means it has orientation, which means it has a force, which means it has motion. So the Earth being level means that it's moving, and it's level relative to its motion.
But the exact, so you're not making a claim to the shape of the Earth.
No, just the surface is level. I don't know what it looks like as a whole. All I know is that the surface that we live on is level. So the oceans don't bend around a ball.
Yeah, I mean, you can also, you can also get a SpaceX flight.
Yeah, so here, real quick, do you know the radius of the Earth?
No.
So this is the radius of the Earth, they tell us, 3,959 miles. So based on the radius of the Earth, we can calculate how big it is. So it's 24,901.
How do they measure the radius of the Earth?
They supposedly have satellites orbiting the Earth. So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth.
So that's the radius of the Earth?
You could Google it. This is the radius of the Earth that NASA claims.
Wait, circumference is all different than radius. I mean,
the circumference. You could get the circumference from the radius if you multiply the radius times pi.
Yes, I mean, that means like if you,
if you have one, you could get the other. If you have one, you could get the other.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. Point being is, using a simple calculation like the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we can calculate for how much curvature there should be based on the radius they're telling us. And there should be 8 inches per mile squared. So that means that in the first mile is an 8-inch drop.
But that's if it's a perfect circle, right?
Sure, but I mean, even if it wasn't, but here's the thing though. If we went out to a giant lake that was 3 miles across to try and physically measure for this curvature, if we build a level structure over the lake,
this is he's trying to leave the Earth.
Intense debate.
A globe.
So we're trying to.
So again, so the surface of water on a lake, if we build a level structure above it, the surface is always going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because once water is contained at rest, the surface always equalizes and forms a level surface, like in a pool.
Okay.
So again, it doesn't matter the scale. We can go to a lake and
well, what about the idea that if it was, let's say, if it was super long, right? Extremely long?
Yeah, if it was 10 miles.
Say they would also be level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, the globe Earth wants us to believe that in 3 miles there's going to be a 6-foot deviation from the level. But a lake that's doing this is physically impossible on the surface.
But I also would not say that the water on the Earth is a perfect circle either. It's kind of like
well, that defies physics as well, because again, once water is contained at rest, and again, you could build it 10 miles, you could build it 20 miles, you could build it 30.
So we have like
Sure, I would say that there is a high tide and a low tide, but if you look up the definition of that, it's a horizontal movement of water. Even the mainstream admits that it's a horizontal movement of water. So again, horizontal meaning level. So it is a slight deviation with the
So
oceans.
you just think it's like
an extended plane.
Extended plane.
Yeah, that's
that can
what it
go
is.
on forever.
No, I don't think it's infinite.
So how far does it go there?
I have no clue. Maybe the governments have figured it out, and they're keeping that from us.
Every government working together.
I don't know if you guys knew the Antarctic Treaty was formed in the 1940s.
I don't think every government works together.
So how do planes fly around the whole thing?
Yeah, so I'll show you.
It's got everything.
I would love to go into like
again,
the
I don't
political
push any model of the Earth.
Anything.
So this is not what the Earth looks like. But if it was a globe flattened out, this is what it would look like. So the north would just be a center point.
Oh, so they can just fly like this.
Yes. East and west would just be circles.
So then the South Pole is like a big circle around it?
Allegedly.
If it's
this model, yes.
Okay.
But I don't think this model is correct either. So nobody knows what the layout looks like. But if we just flying out a globe, this is what it would look like. Nobody has ever done south to north navigation. So nobody's gone south on a globe and then come back north. That kind of circumnavigation has never been done. Because what will happen? You just reach the end of it.
So
I don't think that conclusion is inappropriate. Like,
why not?
They just claim they do that.
Oh, but if they did do that with the satellite,
that's the thing, though. You just have to believe it.
What's your name?
You can't verify that.
What's your name?
My name's William.
What?
William.
I'd like to protest something you said about the circumnavigation.
Yes.
Well, I guess it sort of reminds me how like way back in isn't like pre 1492, didn't like a bunch of Europeans think that there was like no continent, that it was just like ocean forever, they didn't know.
Sure.
And then eventually Columbus just like sailed over here and did all of like the colonization genocide, and that's when they made that discovery.
Sure.
For them.
But again, that particular diagram is showing that again,
he's not saying he agrees with it.
I don't agree with it. There's a lot of anomalies with this map as well. So a lot of fake flat earthers, these motionless flat earthers, push this as fact. So what does that happen? When you push this as fact, you start to find anomalies with the sun's movement over certain continents. So they try to use that as, oh, you see, it's not flat because the sun doesn't make sense with this map. But that's just because this map is wrong too. So a lot of people.
That's their controlled opposition.
Yeah, that's the controlled opposition.
I understand.
Exactly. So they're giving fake arguments. The argument should be in the physics of water, not the layout of the Earth.
Can we go back to Chris?
The physics of water.
The
So
physics-
even like, let's say you
Or the physics of buoyancy too.
like, let's say you could like you yourself could fly the globe like that,
Yeah.
and you did. Would you be convinced it's here then, or?
I guess theoretically, sure.
Wait.
Sure. If you just go south and then come back, but even then, like.
So if somebody sponsored you to do that, would you be willing to do
Honestly, I wouldn't.
okay.
I wouldn't. But here's the thing: if somebody did actually do it, I'll be scared for my life.
Okay. That's fair. If you don't believe that, you'd come around and be like, what's the other side?
Yeah.
But you can always fly and be like, oh, once there's nothing there, I turn around, right? As long as there's still things, I can keep flying.
See, if I was rich and I did this expedition myself, then I'll be for it. Or if anybody else is rich. But guess what? The Antarctic Treaty that was formed in 1950s, in the 19 prevents anyone from independently exploring the Earth. So if you want to go south, if you're rich and you want to go south, you're not allowed. So there is an Antarctic treaty that prevents independent exploration.
But you don't have to go
I think
south.
that is not necessarily causal of some government conspiracy. Like, they have given reasons that I think are plausible. But besides, I want to go. I'd love to go back to that whole like circumnavigation thing. Like, wait, what is the camera? Can I show the map of the camera?
Sure.
Is it? Can the camera? Can they see it? Okay.
It's interesting though.
So I won't draw this.
It's so good to debate it, you know, because like.
Wait, he said we only got one.
Say we're like
we pull
at the
Earth.
just because no one has gone like from say in the Ballif model, no one's gone like from the North Pole through the South Pole all around and like come back up to the north. We can also say no one has done that yet because just because it hasn't been achieved doesn't mean it can never be achieved.
Sure.
It's just like it's like saying I don't think someone has ever like piled a bunch of like squirrel skeletons in a pyramid and like danced on top of them. Doesn't mean it can't be done. It seems very plausible if I have enough.
That is possible because, if you claim something that's physically impossible, that's different. So let's say you rode an elephant that can fly. You know, just because nobody's rode an elephant that can fly, that doesn't mean that somebody can actually do that one thing. That's physically impossible. You cannot ride an elephant that can fly. Riding in like Dumbo or whatever that elephant's name is, right? Yes, sir. Yeah, the Disney elephant. So just because nobody's ever ridden an elephant flying, that doesn't mean somebody could do it in the future. So that's the same thing in my opinion.
No, but I'm
that
not,
defies
I'm not
physics.
saying that it's
The globe Earth defies
I'm saying that it
physics
is
as well.
not certainly impossible. I'm saying that it's uncertain. Like, because we haven't like been there yet. Right now,
well, I would say it is impossible because it's physically
we've
impossible.
observed elephants like not being able to fly, right? So, but say someone, say we like go to this planet.
You guys want to take a flyer?
I don't think they do. Say we go to planet X, okay? Sure. Planet X has a bunch of like really buoyant, like big round things that can fly.
Sure.
Like level by definition means.
I don't know where I'm going with this. And like, say we have like elephant-looking like things on Planet X, and they can fly for whatever reason. They're just like big, happy creatures filled with helium.
Right.
Okay, like in that case, like it would make sense for an elephant to like be able to fly there. But here, all the elephants we've observed haven't been able to fly. So we have like all this data that I guess like supports our beliefs. Elephants don't fly. So when it comes back, when it comes back to like the mysterious South Pole, if actually do you have a ball?
Yeah, you want to illustrate what you're saying?
So we have these, like say we call this North Pole, South Pole, right?
Yeah.
We have a ball out of principle, just because someone hasn't like, I guess like gone around. That doesn't mean that
it's not possible.
It isn't. It doesn't mean that.
Can I just play with it?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's impossible. Like, just out of principle, just because we don't have data, it doesn't mean we can assume like any like hypothetical that isn't is like doesn't mean we can like assume.
You see how it reacts as soon as you move it?
Yeah.
In free fall, it should react as well because it's being accelerated down and it doesn't. So there is no reaction of the buoyant. There's no buoyancy in free fall. In other words.
But is this like watertight?
So,
Like if I had to drop this
if
thing.
you were just to drop it in free fall, don't drop it.
Yeah,
like
I
this
won't.
on your
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
But if you were to drop it in free fall, there is no buoyant effect in free fall because there's no acceleration or force or pressure in free fall.
That's not a result of like relative motion.
So this will be considered an analog accelerometer. So because our phones have digital accelerometers, so they detect acceleration, this will be considered an analog accelerometer. So any container,
detects
so,
acceleration.
so this detects acceleration as well. So if I accelerate this way, the water moves to the back. If I accelerate this way, the water moves to the back this way. If I accelerate down, the water moves up, right? In free fall, the water stays down. There is no reaction because there is no pressure in free fall. It's not because it's not being accelerated down. This doesn't accelerate down in free fall. It's the earth that comes up to meet it. Because when I actually accelerate down, you can see the water displace. So if there is acceleration of this bottle, then the water will displace relative to the direction of the force.
Well, aren't they all accelerating at the same time? That's why it's not going fast.
That's what they say. That's the explanation to the theory of relativity. So that kind of acceleration cannot be recreated though. So for me to be able to accelerate this that way and the water remain level, that's a physical impossibility.
Well, because you'd have to move the water and the thing at the
Yes,
same time, which
yeah.
you can't do.
Yeah, they're claiming that everything can accelerate together at the same time. That kind of force doesn't exist. All force is something pushing on something else that pushes something else. It's all a chain reaction.
I have a question.
That's how force reacts.
But they're talking about like the molecular forces between masses.
Yeah,
right?
between an imaginary
But
force field.
You're thinking that's not real.
That's not real.
Okay.
It's just pretty much. Yes.
So you mentioned today, I'm not a super like physicsy guy. I'm an engineering major, so I will be someday, but not today.
Okay.
But I'm pretty confident when it comes to like knowing a basic like global politics. So who's they again?
They is the people that run government. So a lot of people that
when you
just
say
work
the
for government
you
are
mean-
just
hold on.
Yeah.
When you say the government, can you like is that like some like organization like everywhere? That's,
I
like,
would say
everywhere?
there are. I don't even like using these words. I don't even like going into these rabbit holes. But there is definitely like secret groups, I guess you could say. You know? Have you guys heard of like the Skull and Bones, for example? George Bush was part of it. You know, his dad was also part of it. So there's a lot of like little groups that they have. Again, they could all be bullshit too, for all I know. But there's definitely a conspiracy.
Hold on, it could be bullshit. But
No, I'm saying these
So, like,
groups could be
there's-
bullshit.
I mean, I
there's
think it's-
definitely people pulling the strings in government. That would be considered like the shadow government. I don't know who they are.
Okay, but what benefit? Okay, can you just
do we have any like data for this shadow government, or
Well-
is it sort of like
Well,
a
the CIA will be like the first level of that. You know,
Well, we have data that like the CIA.
the CIA is not there to. They admit it. The CIA is there to manipulate and persuade human perception. They admitted that back in the 90s. You know, but nobody cares. You know, that's what the CIA's job.
So how would
It's to influence people.
So is the shadow government try to like hide itself from the public? Like
Yes.
the CIA doesn't want to like no one to know this.
They do.
So
So the people that
What's
truly
up?
run the system, I have no clue who they are. The presidents and all of that, they're just puppets. You know, so presidents are not elected; they're selected. You know, that's the reality.
I mean, you put your vote in the ballot. You
Well,
can
they
choose.
make you believe that you have.
You are putting your vote in the
Yeah, you
ballot.
are putting a vote, but they're not
my
counting
name- my
it.
name
They
is-
already have who are they going to pick. You know, but
Trump lost 2020. All
My
right,
name-
like, he lost.
my
Beat
name
him.
is Hunter Coombs, and I, Hunter Coombs, believe that. Or actually, no, I have data that enforces my ideas about how elections work.
Sure.
Okay.
I would say you have your beliefs about how election works, and I have my beliefs.
Well, I have.
It doesn't
I have
change
data.
the physics. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I have data.
when it comes
I
to
have, like,
politics, it's just beliefs.
I can ask people who I'm sure I can like find ask people who have voted. I voted. People who like work in the voting ballots. People who they like send those ballots to. The people who count it. The people who like do whatever after they count it. Like I don't know. If I was determined enough, I could reach
But here's
out.
the thing,
That's
it-
data that I have. I guess I don't have it in front of me, but like I have that.
People are pretty
What's
simple.
your
Can I see
data?
your? I want to see your model because like
I don't have a
wanna
model.
See you don't have a
I don't
model.
have a
You
model.
have a drawing.
I think pushing a model is not something that.
And make a prediction, right? Because
Sure.
like again, in scientific theory, the goal is that you propose a model through your hypothesis, you test things to make sure the hypothesis is true. If it's proven enough times and you don't have anything better to prove, then it becomes a theory. After
Well, this
it's
is my
out.
prediction
Right.
that water doesn't bend. So a physical measurement of the surface of water will show that there is no deviation at any distance.
Wait, actually, have you heard of the meniscus?
Yes, that's when you fill up like the lid of a bottle, and then there's like a little. That's because due to surface tension. But that doesn't mean that the water can bend and stick to a bottle. Just because there's surface tension.
like water droplets have surface tension.
Sure, yeah, they do. But what happens when we accumulate all that water into a container? What happens to the surface?
I mean, the surface
Does it start to deviate? It
still has surface tension.
Yeah, because guess what? If the surface of water deviates like this, guess what's going to happen? It's going to start to flow. That's what a river is. If the surface of water...
So why does it flow, though?
Because of the force of the earth.
So.
Because the earth is moving up. So the water is trying to find its resting place, which will be a container.
I personally...
Because the earth is moving up and the water is just being dragged.
I'm inclined to disagree with that whole, like, flow thing.
Oh, so the Earth is moving, like,
Up.
within space, like it's like,
Yes,
like
the
flying
earth
like
is...
this.
Yes, the earth is moving up through space.
Oh, that's why we're getting, like, pressed down to it.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So your body has inertia. So your body wants to remain like motionless, I guess you could say. You know, because matter can't move itself. You know, it requires an external force to move it. You know, so when the Earth is pushing up against you, your inertia, you know, how much mass you have dictates how much inertia you have and how much resistance you're going to have. So if you have more mass, you're going to have more inertia, more resistance, more weight. So that's what gives us our weight. Inertia is equal and opposite to the push. You know,
So how would you, like, if you had to do like projectile motion calculation?
Yeah.
How would you do that?
Projectile motion calculation. What do you mean?
Like if I throw a ball.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, we calculate speed based on distance over time.
Okay.
So how long did it take that to reach that, and what's the distance between? That's how we can calculate. You know.
And then, but then also your, I guess your force of gravity upwards.
Yes.
You
So
would say is 9.8 also.
No, so they're accounting for like the drop, parent drop of an object moving straight.
But you
right?
think that's the Earth getting closer?
Yes, it's the Earth getting
So
closer
do you
to
think
the object,
the Earth
math object.
accelerates at 9.8 meters per second?
No,
Or you don't know.
I don't know the exact rate of the Earth. So there is like this debate within the push of the Earth of how is it moving, right? How fast is it moving? The fact is nobody knows whether it's moving in a perfectly straight line, accelerating up, or if it's deviating from that straight line slightly. So both of those motions will give us an acceleration.
Do you think it's constant motion then?
It is a constant
You think
force,
it's constant?
100% a constant
Otherwise-
force.
so
Otherwise,
ball
we
would-
wouldn't have constant weight.
Right. Okay.
Because your body has constant weight because it's experiencing a constant force. Yeah, so that's why we have weight. So yeah, nobody knows what's outside of the Earth and what the trajectory or speed of the Earth is.
Well, I guess if you want to put your theory to the test, you could always book a SpaceX flight and go for yourself.
Right?
And there's no one that can debate you at that point. I mean, you know, and then once you actually hop on that SpaceX flight, you know, like, you've got a
No,
lot of money.
the windows could be screwed.
Okay, yeah, they could. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, these are like, in order for you to claim that's like definitely true, like, it can't just be like, well, maybe, right? It has to have as much possible supporting evidence. I mean, yeah.
But here's the thing,
but
the globe Earth model has nothing but theories, especially the theory of gravity as a pulling force, when the level Earth, what I'm presenting here is just physics. It's just how matter behaves under certain conditions. You know? So that's the difference between the two models, I guess you could say.
Well, they say that. Do you believe in like intermolecular forces, like between like protons and electrons?
Well, that's just theory. Everything about what's like minuscule, what makes up matter, protons, that's all theoretical.
Oh no, it's not just theoretical.
Yeah, it is.
The theoretical means that it's been proven, and it's the best proof that we have.
It's like the highest level of knowledge we have.
Yeah, it's the highest level.
I would say they say it's the highest, it's the best explanation. That's what they call it. It's the best explanation we have.
Yeah,
yes, because
it doesn't mean it's true though.
It means that it's been proven. It means that it's been repeated over and over again.
Here's the fact: nobody knows what matter's made out of. Nobody can zoom into matter to see what it actually is. That's reality. They're just making stuff up.
Like you can use an electron microscope. You know.
No, you can only zoom in so far though. Because if you zoom into like cells, what are those made out of? And then what is that made out of? And then what is that made out of? And then what is that? There's no end. You could zoom into infinity theoretically. You know.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that we're at a little bit of a rhetorical block. I feel like, at least to us, the word theory means like the most, to me it does, the most truthful like thing that we can think of. Like, I think a lot of people think like, oh, theory, it's just like, people mix it up with like hypothesis. Like,
do you
hypothesis
accept?
is like, I have an idea about something.
Okay, but do you accept a scientific
like,
fact? Do you think scientific facts are real or not?
I mean,
objective truth. You think objective truth is real?
I believe in objective truth.
Yes. Yes,
You?
objective truth. Yes, of course. That's physics. You know, objective truth is that no matter what orientation I hold this bottle, the water is always going to level out relative to the vertical. That's a fact of this reality. Would you agree or disagree? I mean, doesn't matter what orientation, the water will always level out relative to the vertical force.
Right here, right now.
Yeah, that's an absolute truth.
So what's the water made out of?
I don't know. We give it concepts like H2O.
Absolute truth,
You know, it's made out of molecules and stuff like that. The reality, nobody knows what air's made out of, or what water's made out of, what fire's made out of.
So how can you say if you don't know what it's made out of?
Fire is
No, I'm talking about the effects. I'm talking about the effects, not what it's made out of. Yeah. What does it matter?
Fire isn't matter. Like the
Fire is a combustion reaction.
Yeah.
So
Well, fire
it's like the energy produced by the chemical
it's
reaction
an expansion of gas. That's what fire is.
I mean, you take like, what is it? It's like not organic matter, but I feel like the chemical reaction. But it's like
Yeah, it's an expansion of gas, so that's why it rises, because it's less dense in the air, so the air is able to push fire up. Yeah, I've done experiments with fire before in my channel to show that.
Oh, you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel.
What's your channel called?
Here, I'll give you my channel. It's called Level-Headed William.
We're on a live stream right now, I think.
Yeah, you are.
How many people are watching?
50 right now.
50?
But the one that's live is pointing at me. This one's not live. But yeah.
Okay. Oh, do you like clip us?
I'm sorry?
Do you like clip us and put us in videos?
To be honest, I do share the entire conversation though. I don't chop anything out. I just share the entire conversation as is.
Oh, that's not so good. I was
It's cool. It's good.
fine.
It happens. You wouldn't be the first stress or the
I
last.
don't know how many times you'll be around here, but I'm gonna go talking about some of these things. If I can find your YouTube channel, it's all on there, right? So I'm gonna show this to some of my friends that are like PhDs in physics and stuff, and then I'll see what they have to say.
Definitely, yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. So
my personal interest goes back to sort of like the whole like shadow organization.
Appreciate it, man. Take care.
Secret thing.
Yeah. So you just don't think that it's possible that everyone's working together, at least at a higher level, to try and fool the masses, right? You don't think that's happening?
I believe that that's certainly possible.
Okay.
I mean, humans are capable of a lot of stuff. But I just want to learn a little bit more about like what would this hypothetical organization, like when could it have been created? Like what was its like original purpose, or like the founding?
Trust me, I contemplate that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I try to figure out like how did we get here? You know, how right? And trust me, I try to figure that out too, and I have no opinion. All I know is that we are being lied to, and it's deliberate. It's not a mistake, because the physics that I'm showing, a child can understand. It's pretty basic elementary physics.
I mean, I think I'm definitely smarter than.
Definitely, you are. Everyone is.
I think when it comes to certain things, I
mean, a fifth grader has
more knowledgeable than most fifth graders. There's some classes out there that
I
can
would
like do like more calculus. Than
fair enough.
That's
sure.
knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know about smart.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciate the chat. I mean, you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, I guess just like more about sort of like the whole like political thing. Like how often do you use like GPS?
All the time.
All the time?
Yeah. I used it to get here.
Okay. Because as far as I know,
Do you know how GPS works, if I may ask?
Well, what's the G in GPS?
Ground.
Ground? I thought it was global.
Ground positioning system. They call it global positioning system, but here's the reason why it's ground.
You call it ground, but
I'm gonna tell you why it's ground though. GPS works
actually,
on trying.
I would love to talk about something else really quick.
Sure.
Thank you. Very sorry.
Sure.
The GPS model, I guess its function is like sort of based on the round, like the ball Earth like system or theory or whatever.
Right.
So, I guess that does that not like conflict with like the level Earth idea that you have?
What, the round Earth?
Or GPS?
GPS, no. So the reason why is, I don't know if you knew this, over 97% of communication done here on Earth, in other words, the internet, is all done with underwater cables, undersea cables. So the whole internet is it's connected with undersea cables. So that's 97% of our communication here on Earth. And obviously, cell phone towers as well. You can look it up. So I would say the other 3% of communication that's coming from above, it's coming from helium balloons. So giant helium.
Helium balloons.
Google and NASA have both.
Have you seen
this? Is pretty.
Balloons?
Yeah, the giant helium balloons. There. You can look it up. NASA is the number one buyer of helium in the world. NASA.
People have.
So I would say.
Do you think that's why they have helium balloons, because they buy a lot of helium? Do you think that is like definitely indicating that they have helium balloons that definitely send like the signals?
They do send them as tests.
Like imposter satellites or whatever.
Sure, they do send them up as tests. You can look this up. It's not even hidden information. But yeah, and nothing's coming from outer space. No signals are coming from outer space. Everything's from here. Cables that are undersea. You know. So just like your router at home throws Wi-Fi, but it has to be connected to a landline. All the cell phone towers here as well, same thing. They have to be connected to a landline.
What's the vibe with like plane flights? Because when I think about plane companies, I think they don't want to waste gas. They want to take the most like efficient route. Right?
Yeah, let me show you.
You have more stuff to show me.
Yeah, real quick about flights, just when it comes to that.
And I think that the plane navigation using like the Earth's supposed theoretical rotation and roundness.
So yeah,
it's sort of optimized so that they don't like waste a bunch of fuel doing some like mystery route for the shadow organization.
Yes, so the closest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So in a globe Earth model, if you wanna again take a flight from Australia.
Okay, but my parents actually they just left from California to Japan. They did not fly like that. I'm
what if they
pretty
did?
confident. I mean,
they just
I
go
think
straight line like this.
I think they just like looked out their windows and saw that it was not that path.
It was a straight line though, right? This would be a straight line like this.
I think it was something like here. Actually, could we do Google Maps?
Yeah.
Like a plane flight to Japan to see how that line corresponds with this line.
On a projection, it is going to make a curve. I've seen the projection, but that's not reality.
I haven't seen.
Because that would contradict what you're saying that they have to fly in a straight line to save fuel if they're flying in a curve.
Well, not necessarily. I think there's some like weird thing with like planes and turning where like if they like turn into like I don't remember where I read this, but like there's like something about planes where they just take like a really funny path.
You guys can give us a read.
Rotation.
If you have any questions about this, you guys can.
And then
can give me
it's like they just end up taking like the most like fuel efficient or like time efficient route to somewhere.
Yeah.
But if like the Earth was like level or something, then the efficient route would not be that same route that they use. And I think a lot of people just like observe it out of their plane windows and like those little like maps and some planes have to use.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yes. So let's see. California to Japan.
Flight path.
Flight path. Yeah, I'm just on Google Maps. Actually, I should just look up Tokyo because I'm in California. I'm in LA.
Yeah.
This is UCLA. I got into UCLA. Can you believe that? I'm so happy. Okay, directions. Tokyo. My favorite thing about UCLA, one of my favorite things, is the dining. The reception here is not one of my favorite things. Let's see if I can. Walking. I don't want to watch it.
Again, whatever you're going to pull up at the end of the day, that's just a projection that's done in a computer. So even if it did show a curve, which I have seen it does do a curve, that still doesn't prove that it went around a globe. Because again, that's just a projection that's done in a computer.
But I don't also believe, I concurrently believe that there isn't proof of the flat earth things. And for me, though, I've thought about it when I was when I was in 6th grade, there was this 5th grader that had like, I was very, very small school, this 5th grader that had a phase. He's like, I'm a flat earther. And I that kind of bothered me. So what did I do? I just kind of really tried to prove him wrong for a while.
Right.
And how am I going to that?
We'll ask some questions.
And where I'm getting with that is that with this 5th grader, I really wanted to make sure I was right. So I wanted to I didn't dig too deep. I was a 5th grader, but I looked at sort of like data, and I guess these like I will call them hypotheses that like flat earthers, and then I guess I'm gonna group you in with like flat non globe earthers.
Sure. Globe deniers.
Globe deniers. There we go. Yeah. and then I looked at data that supports non-globe deniers, and they say I compare them. I feel like the data, to me, it vastly supports.
Here's the thing.
Globe
that data that you're referring to. Again,
it's not just like one thing. It's like.
Well, that's the thing. All
generations
that data,
of people, like billions of dollars.
All that
I think
data.
It's so infrastructural.
Yeah. All that data is it derived from a false premise called the pulling force of gravity.
Pulling force of gravity.
Because if we could debunk that the force of gravity is a push and not a pull, then all that data you're talking about just becomes irrelevant. Because it's built off a false premise. So again, it all comes back down to what is gravity, a push or a pull? That's the main question.
But I think when I look at like how buildings are built, how how irrigation works.
Yeah.
What's some other fun gravity things? Apples, or like me tossing this pencil
Sure, yeah.
up or whatever. I guess all that data that I see and I read and I sort of like learn about and I will like simulate in like my like physics lab or whatever. It is. It leads me to believe in, I guess, of gravity going this way.
Fair enough. And I'm glad you
like,
said
that's. I really do when I like see like sort of like non-globe Earth things. My first instinct is to be like, I'm right, and then my second instinct, which is right now, is like, I really want to like sort of compare and like critically think. And it just so happens that every time I do that, I always end up believing sort of like globe supporting theories.
I would say that you're basing your argument on an appeal to authority.
Appeal to authority?
Yes, because all of the data that you're getting it from like a reputable source in your eyes, right? So you're having to appeal to an authority that they are correct and that they've done the test themselves. So you're having to believe and place faith in someone else to that then you have that belief.
I think I do, but I guess just for the own sake of my happiness, I would rather sort of give life the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that sort of belief. Like when I learn something in like my my math class here about like vectors or whatever, I'm gonna be like, okay, I trust you.
Yeah.
I think that trusting something and then like being proven right or wrong is much more efficient than seeing something like say like the data, like say there's like much more data supporting globe Earth that it
I would say
that, and then immediately like distrusting that and then working to look for distrusting. It's very it's like one of those, it's a confirmation bias. Like if you look for, if you like say like, oh, you're lying, I can prove it, versus like I'm gonna like sort of like look at the whole context of the situation and then like see which one I believe. I think that is sort of the difference in our mindsets. At least that's the way I see it right now.
Okay.
Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, you
I think that's why most people accept that.
Yeah, it's a consensus thing. It's like everyone else believes it, everybody else. So that's I'm gonna believe it. So it comes back to consensus. Just kind of.
Yeah. And I guess I have trust in the fact that like all of these sources sort of come from people. And I trust that.
That they're telling the truth.
I trust that people, like, typically when it comes to this, tell what they believe to be the truth, because I believe that, like, there are generations, not like lineage generations, but just, like, so many humans throughout history, of people that are devoted to, sort of, like, that are, like, curious and intellectual, and they really want to, like, sort of explore the world. They don't already have, like, ideas like, oh, I believe this is true, I need to go prove it and share it with the world. That's not who I see, like, top, like, scientists and, like, organizations like the World Health Organization or whatever.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Because I think it's much more rational to trust and with like an open mind than to like distrust with a closed mind. Because no matter what, like I don't know, one of them's gonna make me happy.
Fair enough. No, yeah, I respect your beliefs. You know, I get where you're coming from. And again, I respect your point of view. I
was really yapping a lot.
No, yeah, no worries, man.
An hour and a half?
No, I'm actually ready to leave right now. Sorry about that. All right, I'm gonna have to get going, man. I appreciate the chat.
What's your name?
My name's William. Did you get a flyer?
I did.
You did? All right, you can check me out, and I do open panels all the time too.
I scan the QR code to YouTube's in my phone history. I don't think I'll keep the flyer.
Okay, fair enough. You can just
dorm room, not a lot of space.
Fair enough.
I have my decorations and stuff.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate the chat. Take care, man. Have a good day.
Too.
All right,
good
man.
Day.
Yeah, you too.
And I hope that you have an open mind.
Oh yeah, trust me. That's why I came into this whole topic. If I didn't have an open mind, I would still be a Globe Earth believer. You know?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. If I didn't. Nah, but yeah, appreciate the advice, man. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too, man.
Actually, I have one favor to ask you.
Yes.
Does my neck look like sunburn?
Nah, you're good.
Okay,
You're good, man. Alrighty, yeah, that was way longer than I expected. My parking is over. It was only 3 hours, so hopefully I don't get a ticket. But yeah, I'm gonna have to pack up and go already. So again, thanks again for everyone that joined, everyone that watches the videos and shares them. Yeah, I really do appreciate the support, especially since my channel is super censored, you know. So I do appreciate people that do directly share the channel with others. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.